backward point, and Ed Pollock has gone first ball. Scoops that away to backward point. Pollock is distraught, but Northamptonshire have got the best possible start to this game. Pollock goes first ball, and the Bears are 0 for 1.
Well, if you send a player out with the instructions that he's got to try and go for everything, then you have to run that risk. And I imagine that's as much of a mental block for a player, even in the modern game, as it is for anybody else, because he's just encouraged to go out and play a shot. But for every occasion that he comes off and scores 50 off 25 balls, there are going to be one or two of those. No. So it looks terrible, but you accept that risk if you adopt that policy. Yeah. So there it is.
No, absolutely right. And Ed Pollock is a destructive player. Northamptonshire have found that out to their cost, as of many other teams around the circuit. And it was Nathan Buck in there at backward point who took the catch. So welcome back to the white ball side, Nathan. Caught Buck bowled white for naught, first ball. And well, as I say, Northamptonshire were looking for an early success. Quite sure they weren't expecting one quite that early. He's been replaced by the Bears captain, Will Rhodes, in at number 3. And he's going to be facing the left arm spin of Graham White from this pavilion end. And Rhodes is defensively playing that up to short extra cover, where it's fielded by the unmistakable figure of Richard Levy. The field, got a backward point, cover, shortish mid-wicket, mid-off. Bowls that ball to Rhodes, who on drives and fielded off his own bowling by Graham White. And there's no run. Then a long on the boundary down in front of us. A deep mid-wicket on the boundary. Those are the 2 men out. Then a mid-wicket backward square and a man on the 45 saving 1. White in again. Bowls and Rhodes pulls. It goes out to the man at deep mid-wicket out there on the bounce. And they pick up a single. So the Bears are away. 1 for 1. And now it's going to be Peter Milan, the South African international, who's going to face. And for him, the field changing over, the Charlie Thurston coming into the side to replace the injured Josh Cobb, unmistakable under the sun hat. He goes out to the deep mid-wicket boundary in front of the old scoreboard. And long off is out as well. Those are the 2 men out outside the circle. And here's White, success already to his credit, comes in round the wicket, bowls short of a length, and that's punched away off the back foot by Milan, and it goes to Rob Keogh at backward point. Keogh, I think it's probably fair to say, Mike would be in credit already if he hadn't scored any runs. He's saved so many in the first 2 games. He really has been outstanding in the field. Here's White in again, round the wicket, bowling to Milan, who works that up on the onside and comes through for an easy single. Just weighted it cleverly, didn't hit it too hard, but a successful first over for Graham White. 2 runs off it, and the wicket of Ed Pollock. And with an over gone, the Bears are 2 for 1.
Well, he might get another go. I mean, it's been the way of things. The fashion has been you have a spinner bowl the first over, and then almost regardless of what happens, you don't see him again then until the flack really starts flying later on. But he'd be well within his rights to say, I want another go.
He's a fairly senior man these days. He probably can. Yes, it's tended to be that they've bowled a spinner for the first one, and then the first over after the power play, so the 7th over, yes. They tend to get the spinner on.
He might have a look at the conditions and go, do you know what, I think I'm going to stick at that, not push me long. However,
shrewd man.
This is Ben Sanderson from the far end from our commentary position, in front of the indoor school, the Abingdon Avenue end, with a hush descending over the close tonight as Milan takes the first ball of seam in this game and turns it to mid-on for 1 run. And Bears advance to 3 for 1 in the first over. Legend burning out very brightly from the scoreboard. It's always slightly reconfigured every time I come here.
Yes, I know.
Plenty of it on it.
It's actually been, I think it may actually been reconfigured since the start of the competition.
Oh, okay.
But, you just get used to something and then it changes. It's the way of the world.
Yes, I've heard that. 3 for 1, second over. Bears won the toss and chose to bat first, and Sanderson doesn't give Rhodes a lot of room, but he tucks this into a huge gap in the leg side of the front foot and takes a straightforward 2. It's always my impression, I've never worked out whether it's just an optical illusion from the angle that we're at in this position, but it always looks enormously long boundary square of the wicket here, and it particularly does today.
No, I think it the straight boundaries are the shorter ones here. Yes. Absolutely.
You have to be a mighty heave out over the square boundaries there, particularly to the leg side for the left-hander Rhodes at the moment, who turns the next one from Sanderson to mid-wicket, where Richard Levy is on patrol. And there's no run. 5 for 1, second over. The Bears for late comers, and you wouldn't have to be very late, having to have missed the fact that they lost Ed Pollock to the first ball, chipping a drive to backward point off Graham White for naught. Sanderson bowls over the wicket to the left-handed Rhodes, who strikes this firmly but straight to mid-off, who is deep set enough for them to take 1, and the total advances to 6. It's a rather gradual start by recent standards.
Yes, we're saying about big hitting. We certainly saw some big hitting on Sunday, and a couple went into the alleyway that runs between the ground and the gardens in Wantage Road, and they had to send a small boy out to try and retrieve it, or a small girl.
6 for 1. Is Milan scoop this over mid-on and will get 6, I think. Yes, he's carried all the way into the just under the steps and over. A couple of very nerveless spectators sat in the front there. I can see their figures just behind that the little bit of the metalwork at the front there, and they didn't flinch as it appeared to clear the money by about 18 inches.
Breathe them tough in Northampton, Mike. You know that. It's also a very nice sun trap in there. They perhaps weren't watching.
She could have been unaware of it. It nearly parted their hair. 12 for 1, and Milan flicks at least down the leg side, but it's only a whisker outside the leg stump, and therefore, as the bails are whipped off, Milan's back foot is anchored in the crease. But there's no call of wide, so it's 12 for 1 at the end of the second over, with Milan having moved quickly to 8.
I just wonder whether that may just flick the pad on the way through, because usually anything that goes down there, they're going to call. And it's interesting to see Adam Rossington coming up, standing up again to Ben Sanderson for the last ball of that over. He has tried it a couple of times in each of the matches that Northamptonshire have played in the competition so far, without, it must be said, a great deal of success. And it certainly on Friday night's game, it just seemed to put Ben Sanderson off a little bit, despite the fact that he does it quite often in red ball cricket. He'll stand up to him. But he finished up conceding 4 wides at one point. But it's Wayne Parnell who's going to be bowling the third over. Bowls short, and that's cut away by Will Rhodes, and that's 4. Lovely shot in red ball or white ball. That was just a lovely balance, good timing, and beat the man at backward point, runs away for 4. So a boundary for the Bears captain.
I think you can take it as read in these conditions on what looks a spanking pitch. Absolutely pristine, that won't be the length. It's going to sit up and beg a bit.
Absolutely, yes. No, I think that's probably the case. Here's Parnell in again, slightly fuller, but not a great deal fuller. It's run down to third man where it's fielded in front of the white seats down there by Charlie Thurston. And Rhodes comes through for a single. He goes up to 9, and the Bears to 17 for 1 in the third over. Same pitch, Mike, that's been used for the previous 2 matches. So this is the third game on it. 414 runs scored on it on Sunday, and about 340 on Friday night. So
it's made of steel.
it looks very sort of straw-coloured. There's Parnell in again, bowls, and that's a good ball from Milan. Just straightens him up a little bit, and he's going to come back for 2 as it runs down to third man, and they come through for 2 quite comfortably. So 2 more to the South African. He goes up to 10. And the Bears up to 19 for 1 after winning the toss and choosing to bat. If you're just joining us, same team as last time out for the Bears. Northamptonshire with 2 changes. Thurston and Buck in for Cobb and Glover. And here's Parnell running away from us. Bowls again to Milan. Drives crisply to extra cover, but well fielded in there at short extra by Ricardo Vasconcelos.
Some energy about Milan's start here, both timing the ball crisply enough and urgently running between the wickets. He's not made a particularly memorable start, or at least he won't want it to be memorable for the county. But he means business here.
It's a terrific shot of Ben Sanderson in the previous over. Here's Parnell bowling to him. He cuts to backward point, and inevitably, well, it's Graham White in there. And it's a super bit of fielding by Graham White. 34 years old. As I say, capped last Friday night. Been at Northamptonshire. He started his Northamptonshire career because he had a brief spell at a few years at Nottinghamshire, but he's been involved with Northamptonshire since 2001, 20 years ago, and he was the youngest player on the academy at 14. Here's Parnell in again, bowls to Milan, full length, drives up to mid-on. Tom Taylor comes round and sends in a throw to the non-striker's end, but Milan is safely home. One more to him, he goes to 11, and the Bears to 20 for 1 at the end of the over. 3 gone, 20 for 1. Rhodes is 9, Milan is 11.
Does he predate the indoor school then?
Very nearly. The indoor school was opened in 1998.
It occurs to me, you could look around at one or two teammates and go, I remember when this was all field, you know.
Well, I was going to remember when, of course, that was a football field. And there are those that will tell you that you can still see the touchline. It had been printed on the field at the far end. I don't entirely sure I can believe it myself, but there will be those that will tell you that.
It's all right. Check it on VAR. It'll be very thin. 3 overs gone, 20 for 1. Here is Sanderson's going to try again with the wicketkeeper back this time, and Milan goes to pull, and he's taken on the thigh pad, I think.
I think it's actually Nathan.
I think it's Nathan Buck, isn't it?
Yeah,
yes,
Nathan Buck's having a go.
He was charging, and I thought, I don't want to offend Ben Sanderson, but this looks a little bit more urgent.
Yeah, I think if Adam Rossington decided to stand up to Nathan Buck, I think words might be said.
Well, I thought that with Sanderson, who's a very fine bowler, but you and I can both think of bowlers who might have been thoroughly offended by that and fired down a couple of bouncers to send them back. Here is Buck. Very straight approach, and an under edge from Milan goes past the leg stump and down to fine leg, where it's gathered in by Parnell, looking very disappointed. Not as disappointed as the bowler, perhaps, but nevertheless, that was close to a drag on by Milan, but he gets 1. And it's 21 for 1. Rhodes is going to take a fresh guard, take on Nathan Buck, who is going to stay over the wicket to the left-handed Bears captain. He's bouncing in, long striding approach, and doesn't give Rhodes any room here. He guides away a ball just a fraction short of a length on the off stump and to backward point, and there's no run. He's playing very correctly at the moment.
Yes, I mean, the stroke that he got off the mark, the square cut, what a beautiful shot that was. I say, it wouldn't matter what sort of cricket you were watching. That was just good cricket.
Buck turns, 2 or 3 short paces, and then really gets into his stride. Upright runner, and Rhodes tried to heave that away into the leg side, and that came off an under edge as well. Cannoned into his pad, and there's a tumbling charge in.
Extraordinary bit of fielding by Ricardo Vasconcelos, who, I don't think it was ever going to be a single there. Having fielded it, did a couple of sort of forward rolls.
He arrived like a boy falling off a bike.
Yes, I think we were supposed to be holding up cards then to score him for that, with artistic impression and technical merit.
Made it look a rather high tariff. 21 for 1. Buck bowls. Rhodes is backing away down the leg side. Buck's following him a bit and still manages to bowl a wide as it curves further down the leg side still. They were chasing each other, and Rossington gathers it in. So wide is signalled, and it's 22 for 1.
It's going to be a busy night for Adam Rossington, isn't it? With obviously he's used to keeping and captaining in Red Bull, but not usually opening the batting in that.
There was always somebody in school cricket, wasn't there?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
There was always somebody who did everything. There was him and 10 of you. This is on the pads of Rhodes, and there will be a leg by here as he tries to swing it away. It runs to backward square leg. So they take 1 leg by. Still 1 to come. Umpire indicates to Buck.
Well, some plays age group cricket, and in some clubs, I think that's still the case. But, one person seems to pop up rather a lot.
It was never me.
No, certainly never me.
25 for 1. This is the 4th over. quickest of starts by the Bears, having lost Pollock first ball. This is chipped by Milan just to the onside as Buck peeled away in the other direction with his follow through, which was just as well. Milan takes one for a little bunt down the ground, and the Bears are 26 for 1 through 4 overs, with Milan on starting busily is 13 and Rhodes 9.
Yeah, it's a decent start from Nathan Buck. I'll say he not played a part in either of the first 2 matches for Northamptonshire, but bowled well last year, and I think it was in one of the games at Edgbaston when Northamptonshire were the home side. I think it was against Glamorgan. We had that rarity of a double wicket maiden, which doesn't happen very often in T20 cricket. And so we're going to have the 5th different bowler and the first 5 overs. It's going to be Tom Taylor, who's coming into the attack to bowl from this pavilion end. And here's Taylor running away from this long straight approach and bowls, and it's a good ball right on the money from the start. And Milan has to play that defensively, back down the pitch, and Taylor fields, and there's no run. Taylor's been pretty good in the competition so far. 4 overs, 2 for 36 on Sunday. The Joe Clark-inspired carnage against Nottinghamshire. And then 4 overs, 3 for 33 against Worcestershire on Friday night. And here's Taylor again, running away from us, bowls short, and that's pulled away by Milan for 4. That's, as Mike quite correctly said a few overs ago, don't bowl short on this. It was meat and drink, and Milan didn't have to do anything unduly violent at all, just had to help it on its way, and it crossed the rope in front of one of the pylons down there, and he goes up to 16, and the Bears up to 30 for 1.
The boundaries may be long on that side of the ground, Andrew, but that also means that the fella out on the boundary's got a phenomenal distance to cover.
Yes, that's right, and also the outfield's very quick.
Yeah,
obviously had a lot of very dry spell here for a couple of weeks now. Here's Taylor, and again, bowls to Milan outside the off stump, cut and a miss. And Milan's annoyed with himself, goes through to Adam Rossington, who immediately then is locked in earnest conversation with Graham White in from back point. I was just thinking, Mike, that the last time Tom Taylor played in a T20 game against the Bears was his debut for Northamptonshire in any cricket. That was at Edgbaston, right at the end of last season in the final round of group matches, when he took a wicket with his second ball and hit 50-odd not out, and he and Graham White
I remember that, yeah,
put Northamptonshire into the quarter-finals. Here's Taylor in again, bowls to Milan, who cracks that away into the covers without any timing, and it goes to Ricardo Vasconcelos at extra cover, and there's no run. So another decent start from Tom Taylor.
He's managing to hit all the fielders.
Yes.
Here, Milan. Because they're all hovering right at the edge of the 30-yard circle, but he keeps picking them out. Because there's 3 there, not very far apart on the offside.
Yes, I'm not altogether sure they're even social distancing, are they? There's between the 3 of them there, and the umpire is at point, of course, because he doesn't want the sun in his eyes. They're very close together. Here's Taylor in again, bowls to Milan, drives uppishly, and he's dropped at mid-off. Had a couple of goes at it. Ball went straight to him, just away to his left. That's for him to turn round, Ben Sanderson. And it went into his hands, and I thought he might just catch it on the rebound, but he didn't. So an escape for Peter Milan. And that should have been caught. And Northamptonshire supporters in the ground will now be thinking what happened on Sunday when Joe Clark was dropped at mid-off on 29.
I think he's hit him on the knee. It's gone through his leg. It looks like he's flexing his kneecap as well to literally add injury to insult.
I thought he might just catch it on the rebound, but he didn't. So a life for Peter Milan. And here's Taylor in again, bowls to Will Rhodes, the batsman taking a single there, and he bowls a full toss, and Rhodes just turns that away, and that's making the bowler feel 10 times worse. It was a full toss on leg stump, and Rhodes just helping it on its way down to the boundary. And a boundary to the Bears captain, and with 5 overs gone, the Bears are 33 for 1, with Will Rhodes on 13 and Peter Milan on 17. Clive, good evening to you.
Good evening. After Ed Pollock was out first ball, I thought I would try and look back to see the last time it happened. I thought it might take me all night. It didn't take me very long at all. You only have to go back to September of last season. He's in good company. The Bears lost a wicket with the first ball against Worcestershire. It was Dom Sibley who was dismissed.
That's a good stat, Clive. It's a very good start to the evening. You're going to have to maintain this standard for another couple of hours.
Yeah, as I say, it surprised me really how soon I found one. I thought I might have to go through all the years. So Milan on strike as the Bears desperately looking to pick things up. And that's in the air, and it's just bounced in front of the field, who actually has fielded it very well in the end. Rob Keogh fielding it on the bounce underneath him. And he did very well to stop it. Is it Wayne Parnell?
Yes, Parnell bowling. That was a terrific bit of fielding. Again, we're going to have one of those sort of buttons made with that's good fielding by Rob Keogh, because we seem to say it so much. Certainly in the first two games, he's been outstanding, generally on the boundary or just on the back end of the ring.
Next one is Yorker length, and Will Rhodes can't dig it out, and it's. Pops up in the air, wicketkeeper races in to field it. At the moment, Northampton's on top. They often have been against the Bears on this ground, often frustrate them. Two contrasting matches last season, both won by the Steelbacks. The one here was a pretty low-scoring affair when the Bears were bowled out for just 120. And then, of course, that extraordinary match right at the end of the group stage at Edgbaston last season when...
It was you and I, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was already making my plans for the quarterfinals where we're going to be. I wonder who's going to be doing that one. And then it completely changed, and it was a massive blow for the Bears. Anyway, in comes Parnell left arm. I've always tried something funky here, and it's not going to work as he's paddled it straight into the hands of the fielder just inside the circle at third man. So Will Rhodes goes, trying to improvise. He made room, looking to scoop the ball over the top, but he didn't angle it straight enough and played it straight to the fielder, and Rhodes goes. And it's been a pretty sorry start from the Bears, in truth. Rhodes out for 13. It's 34 for 2.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it, where the batsmen of today, they have their sort of 360-degree game, and they'll try and play those sort of shots. And when it comes off, you get a huge round of applause, and when it doesn't, you look a bit silly, don't you? And on that occasion, Will Rhodes, fair enough, he took the gamble. He thought that was the right option, but he just clothed it, and it was a very simple catch for Charlie Thurston, and a success for Wayne Parnell, who again has bowled pretty well in the two games so far this season. Was the pick of the Northamptonshire bowlers on Sunday against Nottinghamshire, and we all know again what a dangerous player Will Rhodes can be, and Northamptonshire, I'm sure, very pleased to see the back of him.
Yeah, and the Bears really under pressure now. Sam Hain has been, well, their go-to man in this competition for quite a while. He will almost certainly finish the season as the Bears' all-time top 2020 run scorer. He could, if he has a really good day, do it today. I think he needs 73 to overtake Ian Bell. 2 50s and a 20-something so far. In the 3 matches, Parnell comes in to bowl to him, and that's going down the leg side. That will be a freebie for the Bears. That's a wide. And they'll be grateful for anything they can get. 35 for 2. Threatens to be a fairly modest power play. Doesn't help when your big hitter gets out first ball. Ed Pollock dismissed first ball. He looked absolutely distraught, and you feel for him because it is quite an important season for him personally in terms of his future, really. Parnell round the wicket, bowls, and that's turned round to a square leg for a single by Hain. And he is off the mark.
Worth looking back to Friday night, Clive, with Worcestershire. They were 36 for 1 after the power play and went on to get 185 for 7. So it can be done.
Yeah, well, this game can change very rapidly. Can't you? One really big over or one catastrophic over can completely change things. And that's a short delivery which Milan waits for and has slapped it away for 4. Tried the slower ball, Parnell did, but Milan, who may know a thing or two about Parnell, spotted it really, waited for it, and hit it over the top for 4.
Yes, it was interesting on Friday night. You say about having a bad over. I think Northamptonshire went for 30 between the 8th and the 10th overs. They conceded 37 runs in 2 overs. And that just set Worcestershire right on target for a bigger total than looked likely. But Mike called it earlier on. Can't bowl short on here.
Interesting to know what the score is now. Parnell's hit that straight to a fielder, because I don't think it's 35 for 2, is it?
39, I think.
Yeah. That's what I thought. It's a bit unlucky there. Malan, he is finding the fielders a few times. I mean, he was the victim of a brilliant stop earlier, which denied him 4 runs. That one he hit straight to the fielder. But if it is 39 for 2, well, it's 40, so it's 7 runs off the over. So that's a pretty modest power play in truth. It's the Bears' most modest so far, though they only got 44 against Derbyshire. They did end up going on to win that game. But at the end of the power play, they are 40 for 2.
Yeah, and if you look at the power plays on the ground, as I say, in the matches so far this season, Worcestershire were 36 for 1, went on to get 185. Northamptonshire, as they almost invariably do at the moment, lost 3 wickets in the power play, were 52 for 3 and came up well short. And then Nottinghamshire 53 for 1 in the power play on Sunday and finished up getting 214. And Northamptonshire were 57 for 3 and finished up on 200 for 7. So we haven't had a really good power play, probably in any of the matches so far. And this is an interesting one. Rob Keogh is coming into the attack to bowl his off spin. We were saying earlier that the pattern this year has been that they've tended Northamptonshire to use a spinner first up and then one first over after the power play, and they're doing it again here. But it's Keogh into the attack, and straight away Hayne is playing that away down to deep square, where Charlie Thurston comes in off the boundary in front of the old Bowls Pavilion. And they come through for a single. 1 more to Hayne, 2 to him, 41 for 2. We're in the 7th over. And Peter Malan back on strike. Keogh bowls to him a little bit short, and he chops that away down towards backward point. He's going to beat Vasconcelos, and it runs away for 4 to the front of the West Stand. And again, bowl it just that little bit short. It's going to sit up and ask to be hit. And Peter Malan, not needing a second invitation, cut that away for 4. Crisply, 26 to him. And the Bears up to 45 for 2.
Vasconcelos just maybe slightly hesitated there. He sort of kicked the air in frustration, feeling maybe should have done better. Perhaps he thought Point was going to stop that.
I think they did. I think it was a bit of an after you, Claude, wasn't it? No, after you, Cecil. Driven out to the cover boundary, where Vasconcelos has the ball all to himself this time, and he sends in his return, but not before the batsmen have come through for a single. 27 to Milan, 46 for 2. Sam Hayne, just extraordinary to me that England haven't had a look at him in T20 cricket.
Yeah.
Such a talented player. Here's Keogh in again, bowls to Hayne, comes right across his stumps, plays that down just behind square on the onside, and safe Zabe very quick in off the boundary, and sends in his return. And they're able to come through for just a single, 47 for 2, and Hayne up to 3. 3 men back on the boundary on the onside, and that's short, and Milan trying to cut, doesn't make contact, goes into the gloves of Adam Rossington. So there's a man on the 45 saving 1, and then a deep backward square, a deep mid wicket, and a long on, all on the boundary. So 1 almost anywhere on the onside. And just to prove the point, Milan plays that up towards deep mid wicket, and it's Rob Keogh, the bowler, who chases after it, does a sliding stop, sends in his return to Adam Rossington. So tidy enough over from Rob Keogh, at the end of which Sam Hayne has made 3. Peter Milan is 28, and the Bears are 48 for 2 off 7.
It may be that England think that Sam Hayne isn't a big hitter, the sort of player they like, but the fact is, one of his half centuries this season came off 26 balls, so he's very capable of scoring quickly. It's interesting hearing Ed Pollock talk after the game when he made a big score this season. He was saying he quite enjoys batting alongside Adam Hose. We're going to get a bit more spin here. And the first ball is short, and Peter Milan plays it out to the deep. There's 3 fielders out there in the deep, and Graham White is the man who's back in the attack, having started pretty well. 1 run, 48 for 2. But he was saying there, Pollock, they quite liked opening with Adam Hose, because for a while opposition had put spinners on at the start to try and negate Pollock. But with Hose is particularly good against the spinners, so it makes them less inclined to do that. And if the opposition do that, Pollock knows that Hose can get the runs. All he's got to do is make sure he keeps them out. That one is played to backward point for a single, well-run single by Hayne. As It was Ben Sanderson who swooped onto the ball. That's a 50 up.
Adam Hose, he's injured at the moment, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Because he made 100 against Northamptonshire last year, super 100.
119 was the highest score by anybody last season in the T20, and yet it was in a losing cause in the end. That's played a long on for a single by Milan. So the 50, I make off 44 balls. Yeah, so not particularly brisk, and 2 wickets having fallen in that time. But still time for the Bears. Of course, they have got Carlos Brathwaite. You're talking about big overs. Took 29 with a no ball, adding another 2 off 1 over against Peter Trigo of Northamptonshire. That's a lovely shot from Sam Hain. He just places that. This is what I mean. He doesn't go for brute force, but with him, his ability to find the gaps and to time the ball is very effective, and he did that superbly to a back of square for 4. And he's on to 8, 55 for 2.
Just wonder if Graham White was massively impressed by that. I want to say attempted piece of fielding by Ben Sanderson at backward point.
It comes around the wicket, White's, and a very slow ball, which Hain pushes out to the offside, hoping he might find a gap to nurdle a single, but doesn't quite find that gap.
I think they've worked out where Sam Hain's going to try and score, because they've now got basically 2 backward points in. Parnell and Sanderson.
White into him, and he does play it to pass those points to the sweeper on the offside for a single. Hain on to 9, 56 for 2. The end of an over ball very quickly by Graham White, and they took 8 runs off it, so they're 56 for 2 after 8, the Bears, after electing to bat first.
Just a quick run through some of the scores in the other matches being played this evening. Full round, of course, Radlett. Hampshire 207 for 6 with 2 balls left against Middlesex, so a big total for Middlesex to chase there. Up at Headingley, Yorkshire 92 for no wicket in the 9th over against Leicestershire. At Chesterley Street, Nottinghamshire 78 for 2 in the 9th against Durham. At Taunton, Somerset 62 for 3 in the 8th over against Kent. At Derby, in this group, Derbyshire just started 1 for no wicket in the first over against Lancashire. And at Chelmsford, Essex, 3 for no wicket in the first over against Sussex.
Better start for Derbyshire than the Bears had, then.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. That brings you right up to date with what's happening around the country. We'll dip into those games as we go through the evening. It's Ben Sanderson back in the attack and starting a fresh over. The keeper standing up, bowling to Sam Hain, who works that up to mid-on, where it's fielded by Graham White. Coming in off the boundary, quickly to the ball. Good return to Adam Rossington, and keeps it to a single. 1 more to Sam Hain, into double figures already. 10, 57 for 2, and Hain's one of those players, isn't he, in these sort of cricket, you look up and you think, well, he's got 10. Where's he got those from?
Yeah.
He's just, I think he's a hugely impressive player, full stop, but particularly in this form of the game. And just get your take as well, Clive, on the whole Chris Woakes situation as well with T20 cricket. Sanderson in again, bowls to Hain, runs that down. Just opens the face down to 3rd man, and they come through for a single. 1 more to Hain, to Milan rather. He goes up to 30, and the Bears up to 58 for 2. It's great to see him playing, but it's been interesting, wasn't it? He hasn't played T20 for England for, what, 6 years?
Yeah, he's in the squad this time round. I mean, he hasn't played much cricket at all of late, spent most of the time in bubbles and hotels, unfortunately.
Is Sanderson in again, bowls to Hain, who turns that away to backward square, half stopped by Nathan Buck, and they're able to come through for a second. Charlie Thurston tidies up, coming in off the boundary, and 2 more runs to the total, 2 more to Sam Hain, who's 12, and the Bears are 60 for 2 in the 9th over. Yeah, I think many English cricket supporters will sympathise with Chris Woakes in what's been a thoroughly frustrating time for him. Here's Sanderson in again, bowling from this pavilion end. Bowling to Sam Hain, gives himself a bit of room. Cuts, half stopped at backward point by Zabe. And they're able to come through for a single. Hain up to 13, and the Bears to 61 for 2. Sanderson in his 2nd over. Bowled the 2nd over of the innings, which went for 10. And he also spilled that catch off Peter Milan early on. Here's Sanderson running in again, bowling to Milan, who again just runs it down to third man, and they're going to settle forwards. They're going to come back for 2. That's a misfield down there on the boundary. Didn't pick it up cleanly. Vasconcelos coming in off the boundary, and what should only have been 1 is actually 2. Milan to 33, 63 for 2.
A mixed bag, isn't it, in the field from Northants?
Yeah.
Drop to catch. One brilliant stop to deny Milan. Looked a certain 4, but a few errors in there as well.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a scruffy 5 minutes here, isn't it, with that one at backward point, Sanderson, and then that one down at third man. Here's Sanderson in again, and bowls, and Milan clips that away down towards deep backward square. They're going to come back for 2 and make it easily this time. 2 fielders converge on it, and they come through for 2. End of the over with 9 gone. Hayne is on 13, Milan is 35. Beautiful evening here at Wantage Road. Floodlights are on, but you wouldn't know it. And at the end of 9, the Bears, who won the toss and batted, 65 for 2. Batsman out, Pollock for 0, first ball, and Rhodes for 13.
Well, since the power play, they've been consistent. Overs of 8, 8 and 9. It's only 1 double figure over in the innings, just the one you mentioned, the second over. But Bears just trying to rebuild here. They know they've got big hitters to come. I mentioned Carlos Brathwaite. Chris Woke scored 13 off, I think it was 5 balls, 13 not out in the win at Derby. So they do have hitters to come. They need to make sure they've got wickets in hand, and that's what they're trying to do here. Sam Hayne on strike. As one he plays down to long on as back into the attack comes Nathan Buck. It's a way of T20, change the bowler after almost every over. Makes it difficult to follow sometimes, but there we are. 66 for 2, and the single for Hayne, progressing steadily. He's on to 14. Peter Milan still there. He's hit some big shots. He's been frustrated a few times, but he's just feel like a potentially important innings from him as Buck comes in to bowl to him, and he slaps that. That's a good shot. Again, a little bit short. He likes that, Milan. And cuts that to just back a square for 4. Might be a little lesson to the Northants bowlers here.
I think so. And what was also interesting with that one was I was looking at Graham White at backward point. I don't think it went that far away from him, and I don't think he picked it up, to be honest. After it flashed away to the boundary, he sort of gave the signal to suggest that he didn't even see it. He's looking straight into the sun there, but that said, I think he's got the sunglasses on, but on the top of his cap.
It's a very sultry, sunny evening, I must say here. Just a light breeze, the flag's fluttering. And this next one is going down the leg side, and it's helped on its way by Milan for a single. So Peter Milan, who hasn't really made a significant contribution since he arrived late for the Bears, having to be quarantined. It has been difficult for him, hasn't played cricket for a while. Hasn't really had one middling contribution in a significant cause in the championship, but other than that, hasn't really happened for him. So maybe this is his moment. He's on 40 now. Buck to come in to bowl to Hayne. Oh my goodness, he's come down the pitch, and that is a high full toss. It has to be a no ball, and it'll be 4 runs. It is true the batter came down the pitch, and it may be that. Then may Buck try and bowl it the way he did, but it obviously came out of the hand wrong, because even allowing from coming down the pitch, that was an ugly high full toss. He'll get a warning for that as well. One more of those and he's out of the attack.
And it's a free hit.
And it's a free hit. So 6 runs so far off it. Was that, like I mentioned that over from Brathwaite, the one ball he couldn't get away was the free hit, ironically. So here's the free hit, and Hayne has clobbered that. That's high, and that's going to go all the way for 6. So that one delivery has effectively yielded 12 runs for the Bears. It's a cruel game for the bowlers, a slight mistake, and it's proved very costly.
And again, Northamptonshire are going to be thinking about what happened on Sunday. Brandon Glover bowled 2 of them, was taken out of the attack, and that, again, just caused a lot of kerfuffle. They tried to work out Ben Sanderson had to finish the over, and then of course it meant that an over that they got in mind for Sanderson had to go to somebody else, and it was a messy old business. And Brandon Glover only bowled what 3.2 overs, and then that was it. That was it. He was off.
So 24 to Hayne, 83 for 2. Buck bowls. That's what he tried. Maybe that's what he was trying the first time round. It's a slow looping ball, but that one he gets right, and it dips in front of Hayne who plays it onto the leg side for a single to move on to 25. It's almost as if Nathan Butt was saying, well, that was what I was trying to do. 84 for 2.
Yes, and again, just thinking about that little spell between the 8th and the 10th on Friday night when the Worcestershire batsman, in particular Moeen Ali, hit 37 off 2 overs off Parnell and Keogh.
The Bears have had a few nightmares against Moeen Ali over the years. I have to say, this next one, Milan turns onto the leg side for a single. There's almost inevitability now when Moeen Ali walks out to bat against the Bears that they can get him out for 70 in 40 balls. They're probably quite happy.
They take that, yes.
85 for 2 here.
Yes, well, obviously...
20 off the over, by the way.
It was 20 off the over, yeah. It was a hugely talented player, Moeen Ali, and yes, took 37 off 2 overs, and then, rather to his surprise, managed to get out to Graham White. Clubbed one straight to safe Zay, but long on. 85 for 2 it is. That's the halfway stage. So from here, you imagine the Bears are going to be looking at what, 180, 190, something like that. Possibly even more. Here's Graham White starting a fresh over round the wicket, bowls, and it's paddled away. The old switch hit by Peter Milan goes down to, well, short third man, or the way he was playing it, down to backward square. And they come through for a single, which takes him to 42 and the Bears to 86 for 2.
In the end, the second 5 overs yielded 52 runs, 52 for 1. The first 5 just 33.
Good acceleration from these two. Milan's play very well. And Hayne, 25 off just 14 balls. And he's facing this ball from Graham White round the wicket, drives up to long off. That's just going to be a single, or should be, as Ricardo Vasconcelos comes in off the boundary, sends in his return to Adam Rossington, and it is indeed just a single. So Hayne up to 26, and the Bears up to 87 for 2. Graham White in his 3rd over of the evening. Rolled the 1st and the 8th. White in again. Empted sweep. Big appeal for LBW against Peter Milan. Not out, says the umpire. And Graham White just seeking clarification, I think they call that. having a chat with Sam Hayne as he walks past him. All very good-natured. And maybe it was just sliding down, I suspect. Here's White in again. Bowls just forced away off the back foot into the covers. Levy fields, and they're able to come through for a single. And all the way up when he's completing that single, Peter Milan's just studying his bat. It would have rather a cracked sound. 43 to him, 88 for 2.
50 partnership, by the way, has come up, might remind me, 27 balls. Mike's my Andy Saltzman. But he's not doing any gigs anytime soon, I don't think.
Why don't I pay good money for that? Here's White round the wicket again. Bowls, and that's nudged away into the offside. Just to backward point where it's fielded by Sanderson. And again, they come through for an easy single. One more to Hayne, who's up to 27 off 16 balls. 89 for 2, the Bears. 1 ball left in this over. Just 4 off it so far. Can Graham White finish strongly? Yes, he can. As Milan goes right across his stumps, much to White's exasperation. But he picks up a single down to deep mid-wicket. Taylor Fields, and at the end of a good over from Graham White, just steadied the ship a little bit as far as Northamptonshire were concerned after the previous over from Nathan Butt going for 20. Sam Haynes 27, Milan 44, and the Bears are 90 for 2 off 11.
So it's perhaps fairly even at this stage. Certainly a decent recovery from the Bears. If you're just tuning in, they lost Ed Pollock to the first ball of the match. Of course, at point off bowling of Graham White, obviously for naught. Will Rhodes perished trying an improvised shot to Wayne Parnell for 13, but these two going along well. It's Milan. Have you still got Milan as 1 more than the scoreboard? Yeah, so we think Milan's on 45 and Hayne on 27. So it is Milan on strike now. And it's short, and it's pulled for 4. For 6. My goodness, he got hold of that. And that's a long old boundary there. There's a short delivery from Tom Taylor, and it's his 50 for Peter Milan. Raises his bat, just holding the blade of the bat as he raises it. And South African maybe is come to the party as far as the Bears are concerned. 37 balls, 2 sixes and 4 fours. And an important 50, given that the big hitting Ed Pollock was prevented from making anything.
He's played well, hasn't he? And the great thing is he's looked just so purposeful, almost from the first ball. He's run well, and that clump for 6 off Ben Sanderson early on, really setting his stall out.
Taylor in, and that one, oh, he's launched that high. That wasn't that short. It wasn't as bad a ball, to be honest, but he's hit that into the small stand over mid-wicket. Terrific shot from Milan. Successive sixes, and Tom Taylor under pressure early in this over.
And the spectators in the West Stand are wondering what they've done to upset Peter Milan. They're minding their own business down there, having the fish paste sandwich, and 2 sort of flat sixes coming into the little West Stand down there, which is ideal if anybody's not keen on the sun, because that's where the shade is. But 2 terrific shots.
100 up, and the second 50's come off just 19 balls. As in this one, Milan hits down the ground. It's pitched up, so he's learned his lesson, Tom Taylor. But he's made it long on. Sam Hain thinks there might be 2 there, but probably Peter Milan is right to say no. And they settle for a single. So the 100, I'm surmising, came in 63 balls.
And our colleague, former Northamptonshire assistant coach Phil Rose, often with us on commentary, he would say now that Warwickshire, the Bears, have won the over. And now they've just got to, they can just nudge it around and 1s and 2s and still finish up with a big over 16-17. They don't need to do anything daft and risk losing a wicket.
Which they haven't always done it that way. I'll come back to that in a minute. This one from Tom Taylor is guided nicely by Hain. There is a sweeper out there, so it'll just be a single, though. He's run the first one hard, but it's not going to be another one. And there's, that was a key moment, I think, in the game against Yorkshire when, don't want to be critical of Adam Hose, he's batted very well, but he'd taken 17 off the over. And then you don't mind him going for an attacking shot, but it did seem surprising that he took on one of only 2 fielders on the boundary off the last ball of the over and somewhat undid the excellent work he'd done previously in that over. 104 for 2. Tom Taylor comes running in, and that's again pitched up, and it's hit down the ground by Milan. It wasn't a million miles from carrying to long on, but it bounced short of him. It's just a single. Taylor's got it right now. I can't quite understand why Northants have kept. Let's have another go to short ball to Milan and see what happens.
Yes, it's all very well doing that sort of experiment in the laboratory, but it's not maybe the ideal time and the ideal setting.
But well, he's pulled it back a little bit this over, Tom Taylor, after those 2 sixes right at the beginning. He comes in now to bowl to Sam Hain. That is short to Hain, and Hain swivels around and pulls it along the ground out to the leg side boundary where there are 2 fielders and it's 1 run. So despite an effort to pull it back by the ball, it's still 16 off the over, and the Bears looking a little bit more healthy now on 106 for 2 after 12.
Yep, 72, the partnership between these 2, and they came together in the 6th over. They've now had the 12th, so they've been scoring at 12s since they came together. And it's just interesting looking at that huge score that Notts got on Sunday, and they're basically, the Bears are only an over behind them, because they were 106 for 1 off 11. And 115 for 2 off 12, and the Bears 106 for 2 off 12. And we're going to see a 3rd spinner in the attack this evening, and this time it's Saif Zaib, who's going to have a bowl, bowling left-arm spin round the wicket, and bowls to Hain, who nurdles that away on the onside, and they're going to come back for 2, take on Charlie Thurston's arm. Good throw to Adam Rossington at the striker's end, but they're through for 2, and Peter Milan applauds his partner for coming back so quickly for the second. 2 to Hain, 31 to him, 108 for 2. So,
sorry, Hain was going to the danger end. Not sure Milan was sure, but Hain was.
And Hain again plays it out, this time to deep mid-wicket, and this time they're only going to get 1 because of a really good bit of fielding on the run by Tom Taylor, running in from the boundary at mid-wicket. Keeps it to a single. 1 more to Hain, 32 to him, 109 for 2. Just a chat between the 2 batsmen. Zaib doesn't get an awful lot of bowling in white ball. Just bowled that one into the pitch. fired it in, and it's worked away again on the onside by Milan. They come through for a single. Another good bit of fielding by Tom Taylor, getting applause from the crowd. One more to Hayne. And the Bears up to 110 for 2 in the 13th over. 3 balls gone. Here's Zabin again. That's driven down the ground by Sam Hayne, and that's 4. Straight over the bowler's head. Clean as a whistle. Lovely shot. Straight to the pitch of the ball. Hit through it. And again, just a good cricket shot by Sam Hayne, who goes up to 36, and the total to 114 for 2.
Gentleman's phone rings in front of us. I'm at the cricket. No, I can't join a Zoom team meeting.
Here's Zabe in again and bowls, and he just spears that away through extra cover. It flies away just wide of the man in there at extra cover is Richard Levy, who decided against the big flying leap and watched it whistle away to the boundary. And this is another productive over for the Bears. Sam Hayne up to 40, faced only 22 balls. And 118 for 2, the Bears. 1 ball to go in this over. 12 from it so far. Here's Zabin again. Bowls to Hayne. He's going to settle for a single. He clips it up to long on. It's fielded by Graham White. Coming in off the boundary. Sends in his return. End of the over. 13 off it. 119 for 2, the Bears, with 13 overs gone. Milan is 59. Hayne is 41. And the partnership now up to 85.
So 29 off the last 2 overs. And Northants desperately need to stem this. They need a wicket, really, to interrupt this. But of course, if they do get a wicket, they will have a certain Carlos Brathwaite, I should think, walking out next. Pretty soon, anyway. 119 for 2.
Sanderson coming back into the attack, having bowled a couple of overs.
Well, let's see if he can prove on just 1 dot ball in the last 5 overs. He did make the Bears struggle in a corresponding fixture last season. Took 3 for 11 as the Bears bowled out for 120. Comes into bowl to Hayne, who looks that one to long on for a single. And Hayne on to 42. 120 for 2. What's the capacity allowed?
It's around about 1,200.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Possibly between 1,000 and 1,200, I think they were expecting tonight.
It's a lovely night for it. Nicely spread out, enjoying the cricket, albeit the home team under a little bit of pressure. And Sanderson bowls that one. That's got a false shot out of Milan there. Didn't quite carry to the fielders on the boundary, or quite a long way back. And you just get 1 for it, but playing it onto the leg side. Got a little bit tucked up there to the South African, but he gets away with it. He's on. Is he on 60, Mike? Or we still think he's on 61? Or the scoreboard is still a lead in 9 to a run. Which reminds me, of course, Sam Hayne's ill fortune last season. He was denied a 6 by a slightly pedantic, although I suppose correct, piece of umpiring and scoring. I'll come back to that in a minute. As this one, he turns around to back of square leg for a single. Nice tumbling. So much of the tumble was needed by Richard Levi, but
I think he slipped, Clive.
It looked good.
It did.
121 for 2. So against Glamorgan at Cardiff, Bears needed, I think, 2 more runs to win. And high full toss bowl at Hayne. He dispatched it over the boundary for 6. But while the ball was sailing over the boundary, the umpire signalled no ball, and that was technically the end of the inning. So he didn't get his 6. This next one, Milan works out to the offside for a single. He comes back for the second. Might have been a case where the umpire might have waited and have decided not to signal the no ball, however.
I can think of 1 or 2 batsmen over a few years of county cricket who might have remonstrated rather forcefully at that point.
I did get him into the index of unusual occurrences in Wisden.
That's
so
that's good.
124 for 2 as Sanderson comes into bowl. That's short, and well, that was a short, a quicker ball. And Milan, he done himself a mischief. He took a ferocious swing at it, missed it completely, and ended up on his hands and knees. And Sam Hayne's concerned enough just to come down and check that he's okay, because it looked like he might have tweaked something there.
It was a good stop by Adam Rossington. I won't say take, because I think he actually dropped down at the police. He got plenty plenty of body behind it. Otherwise, it would have been 4 byes without a doubt.
So there we are, Sanderson proving you can bowl short at Milan, and he's got a top edge here. He should have him now. Wicketkeeper underneath it takes the catch. Good work from Ben Sanderson. Peter Milan never looked comfortable to him, but he's gone for 63. And the Bears lose their 3rd wicket after a useful partnership. But Sanderson it is who strikes the important blow for the home side.
Yeah, important wicket, as you say. Northamptonshire needed to break that partnership and give themselves just a little bit of breathing space. And, just trying one big hit too many at Ben Sanderson. Went right straight up in the air. Keeper called for it. And he just for one moment, it was almost like coming over his shoulder. And in the end, whereas you would normally hope to see him sort of hug it to the body, he actually had to... He got his hands a little bit away from the body, and I thought for one horrible minute it was going to just bounce out of the gloves, but it didn't, and he held the catch. Milan goes for 63, and that, as you say, brings in a certain Carlos Brathwaite, and now the fun could begin.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And I'm mindful of the old, probably apocryphal tale about W.G. Grace, but if any bowler gets him out, Carlos Brathwaite should toss the ball back to them and stay where he is and say, they've paid to see me play, not you.
Yes, I think one or two of the bowlers might have been secretly hoping that, and Rottington would have dropped that, but he didn't. But that's an important breakthrough. 124 for 3. It was a good over as well, just 5 runs off it. And now it's going to be Graham White bowling to the aforementioned Carlos Brathwaite. First ball, he's away with a gentle single, just playing that behind square on the onside, and it's fielded by Nathan Buck, and one to Brathwaite, one onto the total, 125 for 3.
I should have warned you. He does do that, Brathwaite. He doesn't try and hit the first ball out of the ground. He does play himself in for 2 or 3.
I'm sure Northamptonshire bowlers will be really pleased to hear that. Here's White in again, bowls to Hayne, who plays it away to the bowler, and my goodness, Graham White scampered away just on the onside of the pitch, threw at the stumps at the non-striker's end, and I have a feeling if he'd have hit, I think Sam Hayne might have been struggling.
No doubt about it. I think he'd given up. I think Hayne had given up. I think he knew that hit. He's going to have to carry on running.
It was very, very tight, and it was a good bit of fielding by Graham White. The only thing that let it down was the throw. It didn't hit the stumps. Nevertheless, one more onto the total. 44 to Hayne, 126 for 3. Here's White bowls to Brathwaite, forces off the back foot, and he's going to pick up a single as it goes up to Ricardo Vasconcelos, coming in off the boundary down in front of us. One more onto the total, 127 for 3. Brathwaite 2.
Stand of 90, by the way, for the 3rd wicket came in 52 balls between Hayne and Milan.
That's good stuff, good partnership. Here's White in again, bowls to Hayne, plays it up to Richard Levy, who's on there with the drive at extra cover, and a dot ball. Just 3 runs off the first 4 balls of this over from Graham White. In again, left arm round the wicket, bowls a little bit short to Hayne, who cuts, and he's going to get just a single as it goes down there to Wayne Parnell, who makes a good scrambling stop at backward point. One more onto the total. Hayne up to 45, and the Bears to 128 for 3, 4 off the over so far. 1 ball to go, Brathwaite facing, and White's in and bowls to him, and he paddles to paddle that away on the onside. I'm not sure he got any bat on that at all. We'll just see if the umpire's going to signal a leg by, which he is. So, good over from Graham White. 5 onto the total rather. Only 4 of them off the bat. And at the end of the over, the Bears 129 for 3. 5 overs to go. And Graham White finishes his spell. Good tidy spell. 4 overs, 1 for 19 for Graham White. 129 for 3, 5 to go.
Yes, that's a very good contribution from White in the circumstances when there's been a little bit flying around at the other end, and might still be. After, if there's a hurry to the finish for the Bears, then those figures might look prouder still. And maybe his success is what's prompted Rossington to go for a 3rd spinner, although we've only seen the 1 over of Zaib so far.
I'm sure you're right.
And now we have Buck back, don't we? From the Abington Avenue Inn to bowl to Brathwaite, who makes a little adjustment there, trying to play that from the crease rather stiffly. and pushes out into the offside straight to Levy, and there's no run. So for the moment, one of the star signings being kept quiet. We haven't really seen a particularly adventurous stroke from him. In the 16th of 20 overs, bears 129 for 3, powered by that third wicket stand of 90 between Milan and Hayne. Buck bowls again, and Brathwaite drives elegantly through the offside for 2 to a particularly deep extra cover. What a fine throw from that long boundary, but they're already back for 2.
He's such a tall man, and you watch him. He seems to complete one run in about what 8 paces or something like that. He's just got such long legs. Just lopes up the pitch for the runs.
It was quite an elegant stroke.
It was a lovely shot.
Backed his eye. Buck bowls. He makes a little bit of room here. This is not so much elegant. Knows a little bit more to force, but he's hammered straight down to long off, and they take 1. And Brathwaite flexes his bat.
But I have to say, it was something rather aesthetically pleasing in the follow-through to that shot. The sort of like somebody hitting a really nice 7-iron or something, just with a lovely finish.
How far do you suppose he strikes a 7-iron?
Well, further than me.
Yeah. I don't know whether he is into golf. Buck goes slightly wider of the crease, and Hayne played that as if it had just been held back a fraction and guided it quietly to backward point, but they've busily gone through for 1 run. Hayne's more attacking instincts just been quelled in the last few minutes. 133 for 3 in the 16th over, so a fair bit of power to add, but not a lot of time. Try and push this score up to a more formidable one. It's often been a fixture which has been very closely contested here at Wantage Road over recent years. Now Brathwaite gets a short ball and pulls it hard, but straight to deep mid-wicket. I think that's Zaib out there, just in the shadows. No, it's
Vasconcelos.
Vasconcelos, I beg his pardon. Right, just in the edge of the shadow coming from that little stand. And it went so quickly to him that there was only time for 1 run. Brathwaite up to 7. And Hayne 46. There's plenty of opportunity for a single, especially on the leg side, where most of the leg side field is very deep. And Hayne coming across his crease to turn a ball from outside off stump into exactly that gap because he wants 2. And he's hit it gently enough to get 2, although the throw coming in from Keogh trims the stumps at the non-striker's end as Brathwaite arrives. Not quite in time to run him out, so they've taken 2, and it's the end of the over, and a spell which Sanderson wrestled round a bit after going for a 6 in his first over, while making 1 for 31 from 4 overs, and that's not too bad.
No, Northamptonshire have just clawed this back a little bit on the quiet, as you were saying. The second 5 overs went from 33 for 1 to 85 for 2, and then the third 5 overs going for 44. So they've just clawed it back a touch. You were saying about, Mike, how close these fixtures often are. The overall match total, I was looking at that, these two sides have played 35 games in T20 cricket. Northamptonshire have won the 17, the Bears have won the 17 and 1 tie. So it couldn't be a lot closer than that, and it's going to be Wayne Parnell who's going to start his third over, 2 overs, 1 for 15 so far. Bowling round the wicket to Brathwaite, who stands and delivers and pulls that up to long on without any great power or timing. Gets a single. Graham White comes off the boundary to field. 1 more to Carlos Brathwaite. 7 to him. 137 for 3. So 23 balls remaining in the innings. I just wonder what score, if any, the Bears will have in their mind. Maybe 180. Here's Parnell round the wicket, bowls just short of a length to Hayne, who drops it down to backward point. Levy fields, and they come through for a single. 48 to Hayne, 138 for 3. Hayne 48 off 30 balls.
They've got potential to add quite a few, haven't they? But
oh, they have. Yes,
but time is a little bit against them
now. Northamptonshire have just, as I say, I think they've done well in the last. They've had a good, having had a scruffy 5 minutes earlier. I think they've had a decent 10 minutes here. Here's Parnell round the wicket again. Bowls to Brathwaite, who drives powerfully out to extra cover, but Rob Keogh's there fielding in front of the West Stand down in the shade, and they come through for another single. 8 to Brathwaite, 139 for 3. There's obviously somebody's got a barbecue on in Clark Road in one of the gardens. There's a lot of smoke coming up from the back garden area over the red brick wall that surrounds the ground. And I can just get the occasional aroma of.
Well, I was going to say it hasn't drifted to this end of the.
Well, just occasionally something. It's just something pleasant and meaty. Nice Cumberland sausage or similar.
Can't be bad.
Here's Parnell round the wicket, bowls to Hayne, works that away on the onside. Come through for one, thought about a second, but that's all there'll be. Tom Taylor is quickly to the ball, and that's a 50 for Sam Hayne. Half century for him, coming up off 32 balls with a 6 and 4 fours.
Yes, and he's dropped more into accumulation mode of late. I think there have only been 2 balls in that innings so far that he hasn't scored off.
Here's Parnell round the wicket, bowls to Brathwaite, who sort of tugs that round towards long on. Ball just, again, short of a length, and it goes, trying to power it into the pitch. And he gets a single, again, a good bit of fielding by Graham White down below us. 141 for 3, Brathwaite to 9. So, what, 5 off the over so far, 1 ball to go. And Parnell again looking to finish strongly, having done the hard work for most of the over. And he's gets a thick inside edge, Sam Hayne, as he was looking to play offside. It goes down towards backward point. They come through for 2. Decent bit of fielding by Ben Sanderson, but they're through for 2 comfortably enough. And again, it's a decent over from Wayne Parnell, at the end of which, 7 runs having come from it, the Bears are 143 for 3. Sam Hayne is on 52, Brathwaite is 9.
Yes, you'd be happy with that, to not go for a boundary in the 17th over. Clive reminds me that that's Haynes' 16th score of 50 or more in T20 cricket for the Bears, which equals the record of Ian Bell.
And what's the, was it 70, 73 you were saying he needed to become the Bears' highest run scorer in T20 cricket?
So if he bats to the end of it, then he will be not unadjacent to that. Tom Taylor is coming back now to, he's got 2 to bowl, hasn't he? So
he has.
He could finish the job here, potentially, from one end. Brathwaite, who is yet to get one of the big shots for which he's famed away. He's getting ready to face him. Makes the bat look rather small in his hand. And here's Taylor chasing in to bowl to him, a low full toss, and Brathwaite with a full-on golf swing at it. Carves it down to long off for 1 run.
I wonder if he does play. It's just, he just looks a natural, doesn't he?
I suspect he does.
Mind you, the problem might be if he tries to do that on the putting green. That's it.
Yes. He doesn't spare it.
No.
He's 10 out of 144 for 3 in the 18th over. Taylor bowls again to Hayne, who cuts for 4 runs. It was a teaser of a chase around the boundary, but it was well placed by Hayne, just backward of point. And it's away for 4, and he's been very smooth cruising this through this innings. Sam Hayne, it's been classy stuff.
It has, and again, that was a lovely shot. It was beautifully timed, and Charlie Thurston is very quick across the ground, but he stood absolutely no chance, and it just rattled her. Once it had beaten the man just on the edge of the ring, Richard Levy, and it was a long chase for Thurston. He stood no chance. It was just lovely timing, and as we've said about a few of Sam Hayne's strokes this evening, they would grace any innings of any match, red ball or white ball or any other coloured ball.
No, he's a particularly attractive player to watch when he's going well. He's 56. And Taylor bowls to him again, and he's chipped this. Is it wide enough of long off? It was a bad luck for the fielder, who made a lot of ground to that, but it was always just fading away. I think it's White, is it?
It is,
probably
yeah.
sprinted 30 yards or more and couldn't quite make it, and it's just bounced inside the rope for 4 runs. But the sheer width of the field has aided Hayne there, because the angle on this size of ground just gave White such a long way to go.
Yeah, I just thought for a second he might just about have got there,
Yes.
but as you say, it was a long, long way round. It would have been a terrific catch if he'd managed to hold it. I think it was he fell. He just winded himself a little bit. He's just taking a second, but it was a good effort from Graham White. But 4 runs the result.
150 raised then for the Bears at that point. And up comes Taylor again, and Hayne makes room here and carves this over backward point, and it is chased around the boundary and hauled in this time though. So they will only have 1 run.
Again, a good start to the over from the Bears, 9 off 3. And again, now the pressure's back on Taylor, only conceding a single there, so 10 off 4. Good bit of fielding again from Charlie Thurston out there. There's no doubt about it, when Thurston comes into the side, he does lift the fielding. Terrific fielder.
Yes, he's got plenty of acreage to cover, but he gets around. Taylor bowls a low full toss, and Brathwaite again smears it into the offside, but he's hit a fieldsman once again. So he's not having much luck getting past them at the moment. And once more, there's no run.
Not often you see a ball hit to the man right on the very edge of the circle, and they don't even think about a single because he's hit it so hard.
Wherever it comes, it's coming very quickly at the moment from Brathwaite's bat, but all too often, as far as he's concerned, straight to the fielders, which will be annoying. We'll have to try going over them. Taylor bowls again, fullish. It's pretty good bowling, to be fair. He's not giving Brathwaite what he wants, which is the angle to try and get under the ball. And he can't hit anything in the air at the minute, to his disappointment, and that of the Bears as well. It's only 1 down the ground, 154 for 3, and considering there were a couple of boundaries he went for in that, I thought Taylor to Brathwaite did a pretty good job there.
He did, and again, it's all about just, you know, if you go expensive early on, you've still got to keep going. Your head can't go down, and you've still got to try and hit back. And I thought Taylor did well there, and he had the slightly frustrating one of very nearly getting a catch on the boundary, and it could have been a lot worse. 9 off the first 3, it just went for 11. So that's a pretty good effort, and it's Wayne Parnell now who's coming back into the attack. And again, he's been very good. 3 overs for 22, and the wicket of Will Rhodes. He was certainly the pick of the bowlers on Sunday. 2 for 30 off 4 is Parnell, and again bowls, and my goodness, it's come off an inside edge from Carlos Brathwaite, and that will be very, very frustrating for Wayne Parnell. It's run away for 4 down to the boundary in the front of the indoor centre. It was just swinging in very full, and Brathwaite just got a little bit of an inside edge on it, and it ran away over this very quick outfield. His fine leg is up in the ring, so there was nobody down on the boundary, and that's 4 to Carlos Brathwaite. 15 or 14 balls for him, 158 for 3. Here's Parnell in again, bowls, and he's swing and a miss from Brathwaite, and there's an appeal, half an appeal by Adam Rossington for a catch behind, and Wayne Parnell, helpfully for us, just suggesting that it just clipped the pad on the way through, and I think he probably did that as much as anything else, so it wasn't called a wide.
Well, perhaps, yeah.
But perhaps I'm getting cynical in my old age.
Brathwaite's on the serious wine.
He is, isn't he? But Parnell's a hugely experienced campaigner. Bowls to Brathwaite, who goes down on one knee to sweep, looking to hit it really fine over the man in the ring at 45, and it finished up going out much squarer than he'd anticipated. It goes down to Charlie Thurston for a single. 16 to Brathwaite, 159 for 3.
They've found a very disciplined full length to Brathwaite so far. Everything has been between the sort of laces high full toss and more or less on the end of the toe.
Yep, Taylor was good to Brathwaite in the previous over, and Parnell likewise so far this over. He's now bowling to Sam Hayne, who's on 61. Round the wicket comes Parnell, and Hayne drives up towards long on. Is it quite... He just thought it was going to bisect the 2 fielders out there. There's one at long on, one at deep mid-wicket, but it was a good chase round, again, by Graham White, who seems to be pretty much everywhere at the moment, and they come through for a couple. 63 to Hayne, 161 for 3, 7 off the over so far. And 2 balls left in it. Rossington just making sure his offside field is where he wants it. He's got 4 in the ring, saving 1, and the man out sweeping. Bowls to Hayne, who's very full again, looking to drive, doesn't make contact, beats the outside edge, goes through to Rossington. Dot ball for Parnell. So 7 balls left in the innings, 161 for 3. I think the Bears, if they got to 180 now, would be absolutely delighted. It could happen.
They would be. There's been some splendid bowling in the last few minutes for this stage of the match. And full is called for, generally.
Parnell round the wicket again. Bowl short this time, and Hayne looks to pull it and doesn't time it at all. And he gets a single, which I think probably Northamptonshire would be reasonably happy about. It goes down to deep backward square. Applause for Parnell, who once again has been really good. 4 overs, 1 for 30. It was 4 overs, 2 for 30 on Sunday, so nobody can accuse him of lacking consistency. At the end of the 19th over, 1 to go. The Bears 162 for 3. Hayne is 64, Brathwaite 16.
Yes, and getting the over each out of Keogh and Zabe has given Adam Rossington just a little bit of elbow room. He's got options he can go to here in these closing overs. He could go to either Sanderson or Buck or Taylor, and he's chosen Sanderson, who is quite an experienced figure around here now, isn't he?
Certainly is, yeah. And he's seventh season here. 10 years ago that Yorkshire released him.
Here he is, very chest on approach until the last few strides, and Hayne goes down on one knee and hits him down 1 bounce for 4 runs to a very straight long off. That was a spectacular stroke. He set himself as if for the slog sweep, but managed to hit it more or less back over the bowler's head.
They'll be wishing now they'd saved the single, and Brathwaite had been on strike. It was a terrific shot from Sam Hayne.
Really did wind up for it. So he gets 4 and goes to 68. The top score again, Hayne. 166 for 3 in the final over. Sanderson runs in, and this is heave. That wasn't such an elegant stroke. It was a bit of a fetch from some way wide of the off stump, but it's ended up just behind square leg. But
he's very close to that record now, isn't he? 69.
69, yes. A 4 would do it if he gets back on strike. Seeing as Brathwaite has a habit of doing spectacular things with the last 4 balls of an innings.
He's just having a word with Carlos. Just push 1.
Which one of these chimneys would you like me to try and hit? Well, he's only managed to hit 1 boundary in his first 16 deliveries, Carlos Brathwaite, and that went through his legs. 167 for 3. He misses here of another full ball that landed right on the crease line. And they've got the length absolutely perfect to Brathwaite on it.
No, they've been good. I'm sure they've done their homework. I'm sure they've been watching the video. Heaven knows there's plenty of it about, yes, of Carlos Brathwaite and some of his spectacular innings all around the world in T20 cricket.
But he's not been able to get his arms free here. 3 to come. Sanderson bowls. He has a go there. I don't think that's come out of the middle. He is going to get 2 runs, having hit it more or less between long on and mid-wicket. But it didn't go at any great speed. It sort of lolloped away to the towards the rope, and so they have 2. But there's been an awful lot of effort expended by Carlos Brathwaite for not that much power of late.
Well, 2 sixes will give the Bears the 180 that we were talking about. 2 balls to go.
Well, that would be a spectacular flourish from here. He's the man who could do it. Sanderson's going to try and stop him, and this is hit up and over extra cover, but it spins nicely into the hands of the boundary fieldsman, so it'll only be 1. And again, they've got it just right in this last over to... It hasn't stemmed the scoring rate completely, but it's certainly limited the Bears' score from where it could have gone to after that partnership between Malan and Hayne. And Hayne's
got a chance for the record. 1 ball to go.
He does. 4 would make him the Bears' top scorer in this form of the game. And it'll have to wait till next time, because he went to try and get 6. and got nothing as another full delivery went underneath the horizontal bat. And a decent finish there from Northants, who were in danger of having to chase 190 perhaps at one point, but in the end, from the last 5 overs, conceded only 41 runs, and I think they'll be very happy indeed with that, given as a fair chunk of the strike there was bowled at Carlos Brathwaite. It's finished at 170 for 3.
Absolutely, Mike. I think Northamptonshire have had a really strong finish there, and I think Graham White's been excellent this evening. And once again, you people talk about T20 being a young man's game. I'm sure the likes of Darren Stevens would probably have something to say about that, but. But the two standout bowlers this evening have been Graham White and Wayne Parnell. I mean, but actually Ben Sanderson also, having had a bit of a scruffy start with 10 off his first over, has only gone for 32 in his 4. But I thought White was outstanding this evening, 4 overs, 1 for 19. I have to tell you, I saw Graham just downstairs when I was coming up to the commentary position before the match started, and he was kind enough to wish me happy birthday. And he said, "Are you?" He said, "You know, looking forward to the game." He said, "No way you'd rather be." And I said, "Oh no, absolutely. You know, nice evening, and some T20 cricket." And he said, "You will be nice to me, won't you?" And I said, we always are, Graham." And I said, "But you know, if you obviously make it nice and easy for us." Well, he has tonight. He's bowled really well. 4 overs, 1 for 19. And Parnell, I mean, he's just been so consistent in Northamptonshire's 3 games so far this season, and particularly in the onslaught from Joe Clark on Sunday. He was really, I would say, the only one of the Northamptonshire bowlers really to come to terms. The stats of Sam Haynes' innings: 69 not out off 42 balls, I think, with 1 6 and 7 fours, and Carlos Brathwaite 19 not out off 19 balls. So run a ball for him, but that's not probably the sort of innings you would immediately associate with Carlos Brathwaite. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Mike. I think Northamptonshire's, the Seamers especially in those last 3 or 4 overs, have done pretty well. It's still a defendable total, 170 without a doubt. But I think if you'd have asked Northamptonshire halfway if they'd have settled for 170, I suspect Adam Rossington would have bitten your hand off for that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that feels like it gives both sides an even chance. I mean, it can still be a demanding number to get after if you don't start well. 170 can very quickly become 10 and over and more. Not that Northants would necessarily fear that, but it can be a tricky chase if you don't start well. But it's by no means an impregnable total.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And I mean, the one thing I would say, of course, it is, we've been saying it looks a terrific pitch, but it is the 3rd time it's been used. It is the third match that's been played on it. And you would think that in the normal course of things, if you're playing on a pitch for the 3rd time, it might just become just die a little bit and not come through.
Which, funny you should say, I wondered at that from time to time in that innings, in that particularly the cross-batted strokes. It didn't seem. We saw a few hit away that we really just sat up, but there were quite a few others where we said it mishit, it sort of clothed a bit, and that maybe the ball wasn't coming on to the bat, particularly when it was coming too short, as might have been expected, and that maybe just took the edge off the total a bit as well.
Yeah, I think that is a factor, and I'm sure that the Bears will have been aware of that. They'll have obviously the batsman, and particularly Sam Hayne, who's been out there for a good part of the innings, is going to be saying to the captain and the bowlers, this is there is something there for us. We've just got to put it in the right place. Just to give you the bowling figures, because I know people always like to keep their cards up to date. Graham White, 4 overs, no maidens, 1 for 19. Ben Sanderson, 4 overs, no maidens, 1 for 32. Parnell, 4 overs, no maidens, 1 for 30. I think those first 3 bowlers, to say, the standout ones for Northamptonshire tonight. Nathan Butt back in the side, 3 overs, no maidens, no wicket for 30. Tom Taylor, 3 overs, no maidens, no wicket for 36. And then an over apiece from Rob Keogh and Saif Zaid, bowling a bit of spin. Keogh 1 over for 8 and Zaid 1 over for 13. And one thing that will have pleased, I know, head coach David Ripley in particular, is the fact that only 2 wides in the innings. Northamptonshire bowled, conceded, 14 runs in wides. I think there are actually 7 wide balls in the game on Friday night against Worcestershire, and 5 wides on Sunday. So that the trajectory of that particular discipline is going in the right direction as far as Northamptonshire are concerned.
Yes, there was just the no ball that was the sort of the accident from Buck that was very harshly punished. But in the main, I thought they were pretty disciplined all round, both in that sort of thing and in the length that was bowled. It was a pretty tidy effort, because there were a couple of occasions where that innings could have got away from them.
Well, I was thinking about that the 12th over from Taylor that went for 16.
Yeah.
And at that stage, the Bears, 106 for 2 off 12, and I think we made the observation then that they were basically comparing them with Notts on Sunday, who went on to get 214. They were basically just an over behind, because Notts were 106 off 11 instead of 106 off 12. So, yeah, I mean, at that point, I think Northamptonshire would have been thinking, we keep them down to 190 would have done quite well. I think they'll settle for that.
Even in that over, Andrew, when your first 2 balls have been hit for 6 by a fella who's, already 50 not out, then you need a fairly strong constitution not to get the wobbles.
Yeah, I think again, David Ripley's going to be happy, because I think they showed a bit of character out there tonight, and I think all of the bowlers. It's the old song. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, and it's absolutely right in T20 cricket. We made the point during commentary, didn't we, that inevitably in the course of an innings you're going to concede a boundary early on, or maybe 2 boundaries early on, and then the test is how you come back and how you finish the over. And I thought by and large Northamptonshire actually did that pretty well tonight. And as I say, I think after a couple of defeats, it's easy for that sort of fatalism to set in, and you concede a couple of overs at the start of the over, and you think, oh, here we go again, I'm with you. I think they've done well.
A very resourceful performance, really, for a team that that hasn't started very well.
No, I think that's right. And again, I also liked. I mean, obviously Adam Rossington's massively experienced, the red ball captain, but obviously having to take over the white ball captaincy in the absence of Josh Cobb. And I liked, and I think you made the point on commentary, Mike, it's just that little bit of flexibility to bring Zaib on, to bring Rob Keogh on, just to sort of try something different off the back of the fact that Graham White bowled so well. I like that little bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
There's what you don't want to see in T20 cricket, and it was the running joke when the competition started, wasn't it? The captains would go out with a sort of back of an envelope or something with who was going to bowl which over, so that they managed to get everybody in.
Well, having sort of 5 bowlers, and so we're going to get 4 overs each other. There's not many 2020 innings where nobody comes under real pressure at some stage.
No, that's right.
If it's got flexibility, and that's all it was. It was just a couple of overs, sort of fiddled through in the middle with no enormous damage done. Gave him a lot of flexibility at the end.
Yeah, and if you look down the economy rates of the bowlers, I'm going to say Tom Taylor probably didn't have his best night. Went for 36 in 3, although with, as you said, he clawed back that over that could have been a lot worse than the others. Graham White was going for under 5s. Well, that's outstanding in T20 cricket. Sanderson 8, Parnell 7.5. So yeah, that's pretty good. And Nathan Buck 3 overs for 30, as having not played in the first 2 games. So yeah, I think this is going to be a fascinating contest. It's beautifully set up, and the spectators who've come into the ground tonight, say around about 1,000, have certainly had their money's worth so far. And I thought it was also very noticeable, and I'm sure quite pleasing for the Northamptonshire team. They seem to really get behind the team in the field.
Yes.
And again, I suppose if we all sound slightly surprised, it's because we've all been commentating on these games for a year and a bit with nobody in the ground, and the only applause that you ever heard was from wherever the other teams and the support staff happened to be sitting, and they tried to generate a bit of atmosphere of their own, didn't they? But
yes, it's been a typically close game, as you were saying earlier, this fixture, and it might yet be again. I must credit there's been a sterling effort on a warm evening of flag waving going on almost directly opposite us.
That's Wendell.
The side screen.
That's Wendell and his flag, and one of Northamptonshire's most loyal supporters, and he always brings the flag and he always waves it, and sometimes if you're sitting behind him, it's probably not precisely what you want.
Yes.
But
well, he's obviously well known here, but for Bears fans who don't know, for the last 10 minutes, he's been auditioning for a job at Silverstone. I mean, he's giving you big licks on the old on the flag, and he's planted it as if he's sort of claiming that stand for Northampton.
Only just down the road, of course, Silverstone.
Yes, well, indeed.
British Grand Prix coming up, so it's going to be Richard Levy and Adam Rossington who are going to start the Northamptonshire reply. 171 runs needed. Levy having got out first ball of the innings against Worcestershire on Friday night, hitting one very, very hard to backward point and caught by Brett D'Oliveira. And then out for 6 is Danny Briggs bowling the first over and bowling to Levy, left arm round the wicket. Levy's forward defensive.
I think I'm right in saying Clive will know that the other day Warwickshire went with an over a spin at both ends, didn't they? I think to start the innings, which is doubling down on that tactic.
Here's Briggs, and again bowls to Levy, who gives himself a little bit of room, plays a clever shot away through point for 4. Just gave himself a little bit of room without exposing his stumps and just punched it away and picked the gap beautifully. And that's a nice shot from Richard Levy, and he's off the mark with a 4. And likewise, Northamptonshire, I say, disappointing start for Levy. There's an element of something slightly freakish in the way he got out on Friday, but just skied one off the off-spinner to mid-on on Sunday. And that ball from Briggs finds Levy picking up a single as he plays it up to Will Rhodes at mid-on. One more to Levy and the Steelbacks, 5 for no wicket in the third over, in the third 3 balls rather of the first over. And now Levy, who is one of the greatest chatters between deliveries that you will see. Just count the number of times, if he's in for any length of time, that he goes and has a chat with the other batsman. Adam Rossington facing his first ball, and that's cut away to point, and there's no run there. Yeah, see, I have asked people who batted with Richard Levy what he talks about, and they say, oh, nothing much.
Are you suggesting they zone out?
Yes, and Rossington is out, and that's a soft dismissal for Rossington. Briggs just firing that one into the pitch, as we were suggesting that he might do, and he just tried to hit it over extra cover and didn't clear the man, and it was a soft dismissal there for Adam Rossington, who goes without scoring, and that's just the start that Northamptonshire didn't want. Rossington goes second ball for naught, and they're 5 for 1.
It's not dissimilar in a way to the dismissal of Pollock in the first over of the Bears innings, in that it didn't seem as though he entirely committed to the stroke.
He didn't,
I'm going to take on the field from it, didn't really. It sort of chipped it to him, a bit like Pollock did. And I wonder whether, some of Pollock's disappointment that was obvious was like, well, if I'm going to clobber it, I might as well try and clobber it rather than get out like that. And if we know what a fine striker of the ball Rossington is, that felt a bit the same.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. And again, it was a clever bit of bowling by Danny Briggs, so I think it's just worked out already. And I'm sure, again, the Bears will have done their homework, and particularly on this pitch. And I think we're going to see quite a lot of that, just trying to bowl it into the pitch that is, as I say, in its third match with it. But that just spooned up to extra cover. Caught by Carlos Brathwaite.
It does add more weight to your theory that the pitch is, I don't know, too paced exactly, but slowing down.
I think it is. Well, we shall see. Left-handed Vasconcelos clips his first ball to mid-wicket, fielded by Brathwaite. End of the over. Successful one for the Bears. Successful one for Danny Briggs, with Levy on 5. Vasconcelos not out off 1 ball. Rossington out for naught, and Northamptonshire 5 for 1.
It's by no means a total that can't be chased, but it is a total. It's a big enough score that it could be very demanding if you don't start well.
Yeah, and Northamptonshire have not. That's been the problem. It's been the problem this year. It was the problem last year, that they keep losing. In each of the first 2 matches, they've lost 3 wickets in the power play. Last year, I think there was only 1 occasion where they didn't lose at least 2 wickets in the power play, and that was the first game against Worcestershire, which they chased down with a century opening partnership. So there's a theme, and it's frustrating. I know a lot of Northamptonshire supporters, I suspect, is probably also frustrating David Ripley.
There is no double spin option here from the top as for the Bears on this occasion, because Chris Wokes, who was not an awful lot of T20 cricket for the Bears from time to time over recent seasons, but first played in this form of the game as long ago as 2008, and he doesn't look old enough. But no, he really doesn't. That's a terribly annoying thing about it. But he's going to bowl the first over from the Abington Avenue end with a long, straight, long off-field, or is he just trying to direct somebody away from behind the bowler's arm? Because that looks a very odd fielding position. No, I think there is an issue of some problem, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm just having a look. I think
it's the light glancing off one of those windows or something.
I think it is, and they're just asking for one of the windows. It's one of the sliding windows in the sponsors boxes there, and they've got it open. I suppose not surprisingly, because it's rather a muggy evening, but they've been told to close it, so that's going to go down very well. Get the electric fan on.
Sell a few more drinks. Wokes to bowl the second over at 5 for 1. The target 171 for Northampton. Wokes right arm over the wicket to Levy, full and just outside the line of off stump. And Levy checks his drive and punches it to mid-wicket inside the circle. And there's no run.
They've also used Wayne Parnell batting, number 6 on Sunday and number 5 on Friday night. It's been interesting to see where he goes in with no Josh Cobb, and of course they've got to fit Charlie Thurston in.
Goes Wokes, and that's full and straight, and it's the punch back goes just through the bowler, and he's followed through, and the ball is enthusiastically thrown at the non-striker's end stumps, even though Levy had already had plenty of time to pitch camp at the end of his single. But nevertheless, a sparky bit of fielding by Hayne.
And guess what? Richard Levy's having a chat.
Well, perhaps he's auditioning for this job. Wokes is back directing traffic in the company of Will Rhodes at the end of his mark. Until the other day, he played only 6 T20 games in the last 4 years for the Bears.
Extraordinary.
But at a time when he might potentially have been playing in a test match at this occasion. He wasn't on Sunday, and he's still in the team today, and bowls a little short of a leg to the left-handed Vasconcelos, who wristily turns this backward of square leg for a good boundary. He did play that well. It was all in the flexible wrist to guide that away behind square for 4 runs.
I think that's what they're looking Ricardo Vasconcelos to do. I mean, he is a boundary striker. He enjoys hitting the ball, but I think his role, particularly while Richard Levy's there, is just use the pace of the ball, work it around, and I don't think he needs to do anything too dramatic at this stage.
10 for 1. Wokes goes a little wider, and Vasconcelos has cut this very fine through where about between first and second slip would have been if there'd been one, and down to a fine third man for a second boundary in a row. And 2 gentle strokes for boundaries, Vasconcelos. And a lot of the quicker scoring we've seen today has actually come from elegance and placement and timing rather than brute force. We saw a few sixes hit, but that wasn't really how the Bears scored most of their quicker runs. Wokes gives him a little bit more room outside off stump here, and as if to underline the point, Vasconcelos goes to try and hit the ball harder and mistimes it into the ground.
And now Richard Levy's coming down for a chat with him. It is extraordinary. Interestingly, I mean, Richard Levy was instrumental in Ricardo Vasconcelos coming to Northamptonshire a few years ago, and now he's in the second year of a 5-year contract.
And facing Wokes and hitting him up to mid-off for a shortish single. But it was well judged. He was very quickly on the way there, Vasconcelos. He takes 2 strides to every one of Levy's, but he's comfortably at the other end. And they take a run at the end of a 10-run second over that leaves the Steelbacks at 15 for 1 after 2 overs in pursuit of 171.
I think the problem last year, as a number of us felt, was that Northamptonshire at the top of the order in T20 were just a bit one-dimensional. They'd got Levy and Sterling, of course, last year. Now they're only going to play one way, And if it comes off, it's spectacular, but it didn't come off often enough. And then you've got obviously Rossington and Cobb in there as well. And as I say, Northamptonshire just found themselves losing too many early wickets. Well, Danny Briggs is going to get a second successive over, bowling to Vasconcelos, who on drives, and very good bit of fielding off his own bowling by Danny Briggs, diving away to his left, deflects it, almost sort of tips it round the post and eluded the man at mid-on, but no damage done. It's a dot ball. And Vasconcelos, left-hander, facing Briggs, works that away into the onside. He's going to get a single as man comes in off the deep mid-wicket boundary. One more to Vasconcelos, who goes into double figures. 10 to him, 7 balls faced. And Northamptonshire up to 16 for 1, having lost Adam Rossington. Caught an extra cover. Second ball for naught in the first over. Here's Briggs in bowls to the right-handed Levy and fires that in. And Levy just looking to come across his stumps and work it into the onside. Gets an inside edge, and probably just as well that he did.
He's opened his stance right up here, Levy, so he's almost sort of side on the Briggs, the angle that he's coming from.
He's tried to hit that over. I think he was trying to hit it over extra cover. In the end, it's gone over backward point. It wasn't where he intended. It wasn't really a controlled stroke, but nevertheless, the power of Levy has enabled him to get away with that, and it's run away to third man for 4. So 4 to Levy. He's into double figures as well. 10 to him, 20 for 1. So brisk start by the Steelbacks in pursuit of 171 to win. Now, what's Briggs got? Again, bowls to Levy, who beats him in the air, I think, as he was coming down the pitch. They're going through for a leg bye, assuming he didn't get anything on it, which he didn't. It signalled as a leg bye by the umpire. But that was a moral victory for the bowler. He flighted that one up a little bit, and Levy, looking to on drive, got into a little bit of a tangle, and he just picks up a leg bye for it. 21 for 1. And Briggs again flights that up to Vasconcelos, who on drives nicely, but he's only going to get a single. As it goes out to deep mid-wicket, and it's Peter Milan out there who, in fielding it, just slipped, but managed to get his throw away. End of the over. 3 gone, 22 for 1, with Levy on 10, Vasconcelos on 11.
Well, it's an intriguing game at the moment. They've got 2 overs out of Briggs at the time when the field is required to be up, which doesn't give Briggs much margin for error in terms of his length.
None at all.
Sure enough, he kept it mostly in the right place and did a good job. But I wonder whether they will be drawn into using Mosley as an additional spin option later, given that they've obviously only got 2 overs of Briggs left. We are going to see Carlos Brathwaite to bowl the 4th over. Here he is, right arm over the wicket to the left-handed Vasconcelos, who goes to heave this into the leg side, but doesn't time it, and it runs to Wokes, who's not very far back at mid-wicket. The 2 fielders allowed outside the circle at this stage in the first 6 overs. I can just see a deep square leg, which is more than he can see looking into the sun. He can't see anything. And I'm assuming we've got a third man as well, because he's down in front of the stand here. Brathwaite bowls, and Vasconcelos again advances and ends up under-edging this into the ground, but gets 1 on the bounce through to the wicketkeeper, Michael Burgess. Called through well by Levy.
And I think that what Ricardo Vasconcelos, you talk about flexibility in the bowling, and I think this is what Ricardo Vasconcelos at number 3 potentially gives Northamptonshire, is a little bit of flexibility at the top of the order. It's not all route 1, as I say, which it was last year with Levy and Sterling. Vasconcelos is a sort of multi-dimensional player, and he does give you a few different options, and I say especially if Levy is still there.
Brathwaite comes over the wicket to Levy, and they're appealing for a catch down the leg side. It must have been close to the pad because there's no wide signalled. Yeah. It was angled. It was quite a wide angle because Brathwaite clearly took a sort of half step towards the return crease when he bowled that. Levy was fishing at it down the leg side, but no contact. And there's no run. 23 for 1. Here he comes again. And Levy's made some room here and scooped this to mid-wicket, and he's very well caught indeed in the shadows. My goodness, there was some ground to be made up there, but having advanced towards the ball, is it Danny Briggs there? I have a feeling it might be. We'll check on that, but coming in out of the shadows just into the sunlight. But although that won't particularly have bothered him from the angle he's coming from, I think it might be Sam Hain actually. It was scooped up. He got there with the ball right at bootlace height. And
very good
had
catch.
to scoop it up and hold on, because it would have been easy to miscue that and have it bounce past you for 4 runs. I think it's Sam Hain, I think.
Yeah, it's a very good catch out there, and bit of a conflab now between Wayne Parnell as he goes out at number 4, and Richard Levy, who's coming in, and Levy missing out again, not having had the start to the T20 that he would have hoped for. First ball up against Worcestershire, 6 against Nottinghamshire, and 10 here, and that was a super catch by Sam Hain, because it was one of those nasty ones where you think, you know, if I let it bounce, it's going to hit me in the teeth, or am I going to get there? And as you said, it's so easy in those circumstances for just to miss it and it go over your hands for 4, but it's a super catch and a big wicket for the Bears.
23 for 2. Parnell then at number 4. Johnny Vasconcelos is on strike here and miscues a drive off a thick inside edge to Wokes at mid-wicket.
And at the risk of sounding like the proverbial scratch 78, once again, Northamptonshire have lost 2 wickets in the power play early on.
I'm surprised you remember 78. Andrew.
Very well.
Appreciate it's the birthday and all that. But, you know.
Very well.
How many can there have been? Brathwaite is waiting at the end of his run. What are we waiting for? Oh, a broken bat. He didn't just come out with it.
No,
it's Vasconcelos.
Vasconcelos
even so, he was only he hasn't been there that long.
No, it's.
He's still got the receipt.
Yes, well, there's the 12th man coming out with a couple of alternatives.
Selection of bats.
Yeah, he's gone for that one. So there we go. Ben Curran, that was, coming on with doing the role of bat salesman, auditioning for Grace Brothers.
Now, Brathwaite, elbows pumping, comes into bowl to Vasconcelos, who drives nicely, just wide of mid-off, but not with enough timing to beat the fieldsman running around the edge of the circle, and they have 1. So the Bears in the driving seat just at the moment, with Northants having made a stumbling start to a chase of 171 in 20 overs. They're 23 for 2 after 4.
Yeah, I was thinking back to talking about the fact that Northamptonshire just keep losing 2 or 3 wickets in the power play. It was against Glamorgan last year down at Cardiff when they won the toss and batted, which is quite unusual for last year, and made the most appalling mess of it and finished up, I think, losing 5 in the power play, and that was game over to all intents and purposes. And it is becoming an issue that these two have obviously got a bit of a repair job to do. Still 2 overs to go before the end of the power play. Chris Wokes, who bowled the 2nd over, is now going to bowl the 5th as well, this time from the pavilion end. And he's running into bowl to Ricardo Vasconcelos, who nudges that away down towards 3rd man, but didn't get it as fine as he would have liked. And there's a man in there saving 1 in the ring, and they just come through for a single. 1 more to Vasconcelos, 14 to him, 25 for 2.
Looks in nice touch though, Vasconcelos.
Well, he's been playing beautifully in red ball cricket, and didn't play a lot of white ball, a lot of T20 last year. And as I say, I think a few supporters felt that he was just missing a trick a little bit, because he does give you something different in there. As you say, looks a nice touch at the moment. Here's Wokes in again, bowls to Parnell, forces that off the back foot. Only as far as extra cover, and there's no run, and the sun now so low in the sky that every time the fielder is just I can lob it back to the bowler or to one of his colleagues, they're just sort of looking about where the sun is, and they don't want the teammate to be having to look directly into the sun. But it is a beautiful evening here at Northampton. Tempted to say it always is. Here's Wokes in again, bowls to Parnell, plays that to backward point, but again a sharp bit of fielding. Vasconcelos was looking for the single, come quite a long way down, had to scramble back. And this has been a really good little start for the Bears. He picked up the wicket of Rossington in the 1st over, so the heavy brigade, Levy and Rossington at the top of the order, both out. Here's Wokes in again, bowls to Parnell, who pulls, not the most aesthetically pleasing stroke we've seen this evening. And again, he doesn't time it at all, and it goes to mid-wicket, but it's fielded by Carlos Brathwaite. And I do think, Mike, that was what we were saying earlier on, it's not necessarily going to be terribly easy.
No, the struggle to time it
is
making the score of 170 look a bit taller than it might do, and suddenly we're nearly at a 10 and over chase.
Here's Wokes in again, bowls to Parnell, who flicks that up over mid-wicket for 4. Well, they needed a boundary in this over just to get themselves moving again, and they've got one, courtesy of Wayne Parnell, who's now batted at 5, 6 and 4 in the competition so far.
Timed that all right.
He timed that absolutely beautifully. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
He's pushed mid-wicket out.
This goes to show
Who's come in?
This goes to show what we know. Bringing in the man off the cover boundary, so he's now got 5 in a ring on the offside, all saving 1. He's Wokes in again, bowls to Parnell, hits him on the pad as he's aiming to play that away through square leg, but just high up on the pad, drops down in the crease, but it's a dot ball to end the over. And just 5 runs off that over, with Parnell on 4, Vasconcelos on 14. And Northamptonshire needing 171 to win, are 29 for 2, having lost Levy and Rossington. Vasconcelos and Parnell in there at the moment. The batsmen to come, Safe Save, Charlie Thurston, Rob Keogh, Tom Taylor, Nathan Butt, Graham White and Ben Sanderson. So plenty of batting to come, plenty of depth, but as Mike said, 142 runs needed, 90 balls to go, and the required rate pushing up towards 10.
Both teams finding the power play quite hard going. And the Bears' first 5 overs was actually the least productive of their group of 5. They scored 33 from their first 5. Northampton's just a bit behind that on 29. Carlos Brathwaite bowling round the wicket to Vasconcelos. Pitches it right up. Vasconcelos plays it to backward point for no run. Had a strangely frustrating time with the bat, Carlos Brathwaite, didn't he? When he did okay, got a run a ball, but he did try to hit everything out of Northampton, and nothing would quite travel for him.
No. I think again, it's indicative of the fact that timing this evening may not be that easy.
He's in again to Vasconcelos, who's trying to improvise. He was moving across to try and paddle that. It's actually the way Will Rhodes got out, and in the end, he couldn't really get to the ball and just had to make sure that he got it away safely. 29 for 2. Here's the Northants score. So as Brathwaite comes into bowl round the wickets, that's a slower ball and it's cut well enough, but straight to a fielder, so he gets no runs. Of course, all the fielders bar 2 inside the circle because we're in the power play. Peter Milan doing the fielding there. Looks like it's not going to be one of the high-scoring T20 matches this then. I mean, there have been 3 scores today of over 200, taking the tally this season already to 9, which is more than the whole of last season. But this isn't going to be one of those games. Brathwaite bowls, that's short and it's pulled. This time he will get runs, and that might... Or is it stop? No, he's got 4. Brave effort from the fielders. There's Chris Wokes, I think, who made the first attempt. Between them, they sort of almost tried to lift the boundary rope over the ball, but couldn't stop it. It was a very well-placed shot, and it's 4 runs.
I think those of us that watch a lot of Ricardo Vasconcelos just like to see him playing proper shots. The one earlier in the over when he tried to do something cute, it just doesn't seem right to me. I think he's a better player than that. He doesn't need to do that.
Well, he's on 18, and again he waits for a slower ball and cards it away out to the offside. He'll just get a single. Needs someone to play a reasonably long innings, you fancy, for Northants. This isn't one of those targets where you can biff and bash your way there. They're going to have to build and accumulate. And make sure they're in with a chance going into the last 5 overs. So Brathwaite poised. There's 2 men on the boundary on the leg side. He's moving one of them around. So that's got one at square leg and one is moving towards mid-wicket. So he comes round the wicket to Parnell. Short ball. Parnell cuts it superbly for 4. Beats a man inside the circle. So a better over for Northants. And they finish it on 38 for 2. It does mean the Bears win the power play. narrowly, very narrowly. 40 for 2, plays 38 for 2.
But I suppose from a Northamptonshire point of view, you can say, well, OK, you think that they've only lost 2 wickets in the power play. That's an improvement on the previous 2 matches when they've lost 3 wickets in the power play. But no, absolutely, I think this is going to be hard work. Vasconcelos, you would think, because of the way he plays, is probably the ideal man to have in there to sort of anchor the innings. And if he bats through, and you've got other attacking batsmen at the other end, then you think Northamptonshire ought to be somewhere close at the end. But I do think he probably needs to bat deep. And it's going to be Jake Lintott, the left arm wrist spinner. Bowled really well here last year, I remember, and he's starting his first over and bowling to Vasconcelos, who plays that up to the man coming in off the deep mid-wicket boundary, Peter Milan, and they come through for a single, 20 to him, and Northamptonshire up to 39 for 2. I think you and I were commentating last year here, Clive, when he bowled, I thought, extremely well, picked up wickets and kept it very tight. Lintott again, bowls, and Barnell cuts, and they have to be very, very quick as they go through for a single, and he was throwing to the non-striker's end where Parnell was running. It was a tight single. He cut it away to backward point, but he got through OK. 9 to Parnell, 40 for 2. Vasconcelos facing again, and that's on driven, and he's going to pick up again a single as it goes up to Sam Hain, coming in off the boundary at long on. So 3 balls, 3 singles so far, 41 for 2 Northamptonshire. Vasconcelos to 21. And Wayne Parnell just taking his time, giving the pitch a prod. Lintott comes in again over the wicket, and he's going to pick up certainly 1 here as it goes away down to backward point, coming in off the boundary, and they decide to stick at 1. So 4 balls, 4 singles. Parnell to 10 and Northamptonshire to 42 for 2.
Nicely fielded that by Chris White. It's got the throw in hard to make sure it was just a 1.
So there's a possibility of 2. There's Lintott in again, and that's swept by Vasconcelos. Goes out towards the boundary, and there's only going to be, in fact, they're going to come back for 2. That's good running. It was Stan Mosley down there, who again had a lot of ground to make up, and got to the ball quickly, but they were able to come through for 2. So 44 for 2. 6 off the over so far, 1 ball to go. Lintott in again, bowls to Vasconcelos, who again sweeps that, and once again Dan Mosley's in business, down at deep square in front of the West Stand. Just a single this time, and at the end of the over, 7 off it, first over outside the power play, and Parnell is 10, Vasconcelos is 24, and Northamptonshire 45 for 2, so they need another 126 to win off 13 overs, so it's still pretty much 10 and over.
Yeah, he had a great season last season, Jake Lintott, having finally persuaded a county to give him an opportunity. He must have played for just about every second 11 team in the country. Teaching at Taunton School, finally the Bears, Warwickshire County Cricket Club, took a punt on him. And he had a brilliant season last season. You fancy this season will be a little harder because teams will know a little bit more about him. But so far he's done pretty well this season as well. Important part of the Bears' attack. And we're going to see Craig Miles come in around the wicket, and he might not carry on around the wicket if he's going to keep bowling at that angle, because that's a wide down the leg side. So not the best of starts in what threatens to be a very tight match. So everything crucial. In terms of wides, Northants bowled 3, and they had that 1 no ball, which proved rather expensive. That was a no ball for height. Miles bowls on middle and leg, and that's turned round to back of square leg by Vasconcelos. Runs the first one quickly, turns, sees that there's no chance of adding to his tally. And it's 47 for 2. Must say the total's quite nicely clear on that scoreboard in the white, yes, in the corner.
I think it's getting there. I think it's not too bad at the moment. It's pretty much everything you need. Just need to find out where it is.
Miles comes into bowl. He makes room there, does Parnell. He guides it to mid-off for a single.
That sounded a bit like playing all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order. But you know what I mean. I think the info is there. You just need to get used to it. no two scoreboards are the same, are they, around the circuit?
The only thing about the mods ground happens at every ground is this habit of taking the score off at the end of the over, which is a bit infuriating. Miles comes into bowl, and that's inside edge to square leg for a single. It's infuriating from a sort of commentator's point of view, which people might not have much sympathy for, but actually I would think from a spectator's point of view, because that's when you look at the scoreboard to see what the score is, isn't it?
Just want to digest the state of the game, and suddenly you've got a bit of a graphic there.
Anyway, I'll stop moaning now.
No, I'm with you. Let's get the, as our friend Matt Cole would say down at Kent, let's get the pitchforks and the flaming torches. And
49 for 2. This next one is hit hard, very hard and effectively by Parnell, straight down the ground for 4. Hit that beautifully. And the 50 comes up after 46 balls. The Bears' first 50 came off 44. It was the second 50 for the Bears that was lightning quick. That took just 19 balls, but then the third was a bit more of a struggle again, took 42. And it hasn't been easy for Northants to get to 50 here, but they've done it now. Miles round the wicket, bowls, and that wraps the thigh pads of Parnell as he's trying to work it on the leg side. That'll be a leg by. It's the end of the over, quite a lucrative over for... Oh, it's not the end of the over, I beg your pardon. It's,
there was a wide, wasn't there? It was just...
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that implies that I'm counting. I'm not even doing that. So I just thought they seem to be moving around. But anyway, 54 for 2. He comes into bowl. And that's a big shot. Will it go all the way? There's a fielder out there. And it bounces just in front of the rope for 4 from Vasconcelos. Despairing effort from Chris Wokes. He wasn't going to get there, though. And there goes the score again. I think it's 68 for 2, so 13 off that over, and it's the most expensive over of the innings so far. Only 12 goes to the bowler's name, but that's not much consolation for the Bears. 58 for 2 are Northants.
I think his heart was in his mouth there, Clive. It was very, very close to Chris Wokes, who was herring around the boundary, and the fact that it actually landed inside the rope and went for 4, it was a risky stroke. It's pretty much the longest boundary out there. Nevertheless, he just about got enough on it, and cries of get down from 1 or 2 down front of us just to make sure that the ball hit the floor before Chris Wokes got his hand to it, which it did.
Is that the equivalent of get in the hole that you get shouted at golf?
Pretty much, yeah, and almost as annoying. Anyway, Jake Lintott it is, who's going to start his second over. First over went for 7, and that's Wayne Parnell hitting on up first ball of this over up to long on, where it's fielded by Sam Hain, and there's no run. It's a single rather. 1 to Parnell, goes up to 16, 59 for 2. This is about the only 2 or 3 weeks of the year where we have to worry about the sun coming into this box. Just in the middle of summer, you get the very low sun coming into the box here. It's like difficult to see what's going on. That's hit over the top of extra cover, and that's a lovely shot by Ricardo Vasconcelos. It's gone all the way for 6. Lintott putting it in the slot. Vasconcelos giving himself a bit of room to hit it over the offside, and he hit that beautifully. And that's again a proper cricket shot from Vasconcelos. It runs away over the boundary for 6. 36 to him, 65 for 2. Lintott in again, bowls to Vasconcelos, and he's bowled him. Looking to play that away on the onside. Again, a ball of full length. He played all around it. And the ball hits the stumps. And Vasconcelos, having just hit Lintott for 6, is heading back to the pavilion. He can't quite believe it, but he's got to go. And Northamptonshire lose their 3rd wicket. Vasconcelos goes for 36 off 27 balls. And Northamptonshire 65 for 3 as Rob Keogh comes to the crease.
Well, the look of a premeditated shot there, but in a way he was doing the classic thing, wasn't he? He hit his 6 and he was just trying to nurdle that onto the leg side for a single, but I think he'd committed himself to the shot. And
yes, you were just thinking actually as that ball came down, you thought, well, okay, at least he's not trying to repeat the shot, and then he just got himself into a fearful tangle, played up all around it, and done, I think, not so much by spin as by the angle. And Vasconcelos goes for 36, and just when he was starting to look threatening, he's on his way back, and that's a very timely wicket for the Bears, because those two put on, 42 in 5 overs. And Rob Keogh comes to the crease, played well on Sunday, 45 off 31 balls against Nottinghamshire, keeping Josh Cobb company. His Lintott starting to Keogh, and he just tries to give himself room and cloths it to extra cover, where it's fielded by Will Rhodes, and there's no one. Rhodes just turning his arm over. Wonder if we might see him in the attack in the not too distant future. He's bowled him, and Lintott strikes again, and once again Rob Keogh trying to give himself room to hit through the offside, misses. Lintott hits, Keogh goes for naught, and Northamptonshire in trouble now, 65 for 4.
I don't know if he's still teaching at Taunton School, but he's got a few more notes he can give to the youngsters again, and how you do it. Jake Lintott, and 2 wickets in quick succession, just as a partnership was beginning to form. And you look back, the Bears had that one big partnership, didn't they, where they put on 90 between Peter Milan and Sam Hain. And you just felt there was a partnership beginning to develop of significance, 42, but then Vasconcelos going and Keogh unable to prosper, and Northants, I think, we're just getting themselves into a decent position and now under the cosh somewhat again.
They are, absolutely, Clive.
Could you turn the sun off?
Yeah, it's coming really low right into our box, and we've got this, I suspect, for about another, probably for the rest of the match, just to cheer you up. It is very bright and very low. It's very nice. I'm not complaining, because those of us that were commentating outside during the early part of the championship season when it was positively Arctic. But now Saif Zaib comes to the crease. Big job facing him, and a slip in place. Will Rhodes turning the screw. Lintott flights that up to Zaib, who's off the mark. Just clips that up to mid-on. And they come through for a single, fielded by Hain. And that's a double success for Jake Lintott in that over. 8 runs came off it, but also 2 wickets, and at the end of the 9th over, Northamptonshire 66 for 4. They've lost Rossington for naught, Levy for 10, Vasconcelos for 36, and Keogh for naught. And Parnell and Zaib now with the job of trying to take Northamptonshire up towards this total. They need 105 to win. They've got 66 balls in which to get the runs.
Umpire struggling with the sun as well. Turned round, had to shield his eyes. So, what we're going to see Dan Mosley, who actually bowled 1 over against Derbyshire. It was the first over of the innings. It's a valuable attribute that he has to be able to bowl. Rob Yates can bowl a bit as well, who's currently out on the side. Straight away as a P for an LBD. He's got him! Dan Mosley struck with his first ball. Zaib can't quite believe it, but the finger's gone up. Seemed to hit him quite high, but he's not the tallest, I suppose. And angled into him, and Dan Mosley strikes with his first ball, and Northants really are in trouble now.
Yeah, I mean, Saif Zaib has been very good in the competition so far. In the couple of games, he made a quick fire 36 off 21 balls against Worcestershire, and 22 not out, including a 6 off the last ball of the innings against Nottinghamshire. But again, he was just caught on the crease there. I hear what you say about height. We're not completely behind the line, but the umpire had to think about it and sent him on his way. And just having a look at we've actually got a replay on this. Let's have a little look round the wicket. Don't think he's got a lot to complain about there, Clive, to be honest. He was right back on his stumps. Probably hit him around about, just a touch above the roll maybe, but I think there's not a lot of complaint there. And Zaib goes for 1. And it's 66 for 5. And now Charlie Thurston, who hasn't featured in the first 2 games, he's come in to replace the injured Josh Cobb. Has a very, very big job to do. Wayne Parnell still there. Still a bit of batting to come, but a long way to go for Northamptonshire now. 3
wickets for 1 run for the Bears. As Mosley gets that on plenty of air. There's a swing and a miss now then. Did he get something on that? Because Mosley looks disappointed. Burgess didn't hold on to it. Ball landed at his toes. I just wonder whether that was a sharp chance. Anyway, he comes into bowl. Next one, it pushed out to the offside to a fielder. There's no run. There was a hint of hanging his head there by Burgess. Might just to put down a difficult one. That would have been some start for Mosley. Comes into bowl, and that's guided out to the sweeper for a single by Thurston, so he's off the mark. 67 for 5. Sweeps the hair out of his eyes. Dan Mosley. To bowl round the wicket to Wayne Parnell. That's going down the leg side. That'll be a wide. 68 for 5. Extra run on the board. Comes into bowl, and that's hit down the ground, beats the bowler, can't stop it, and it's played a long off for a single by Parnell. Dan Mosley was talking about how much he's really enjoyed having Carlos Brathwaite around the place, speaking very highly of Carlos Brathwaite and how much of an influence he's been to young players like him.
Not a bad fella to learn from.
No. Over the wicket to Thurston, who pushes out into the covers, and it's fielded there for no run. What a terrific over for Dan Mosley. 3 runs off it and a wicket. Might conceivably have had 2. And at the halfway stage, Northants with it all to do. 69 for 5. And they are chasing 171 to win.
And isn't it noticeable, Clive? They've got those 3 wickets have fallen for 1 run. And the body language out there now for the Bears in the field, they're full of vim and vigour, froth and bubble, and who can blame them? And I think that was, what, 3 wickets in 5 balls, I reckon. Well, Jake Lintott in again to start a fresh over, bowling to Wayne Parnell. Everything really resting on him, I think, as far as Northamptonshire are concerned. He's on 17, he's now on 18 as he plays that out to mid-wicket. And he picks up another single, 70 for 5, Parnell up to 18. Yeah, I think that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think it was 3 and 5 balls for 1 run.
Well, the second 5 overs were the most lucrative for the Bears. They scored 52. They got a 20-run over in there for the Northants. There was one big over. We got 13 off it, but 40 for 3 in their second 5.
Yeah, not great. Here's Lintott again, bowling to Charlie Thurston, who just plays that on, drives it up past the bowler. And Carlos Brathwaite comes in off the boundary at long on, and they come through for a single. I have to feel a little bit, I do, for Charlie Thurston, because he hasn't played in the first 2 games. He's been playing a bit of red ball cricket, bit of second 11. And that's punched in hard into the ground, and it bounces up for Rhodes to field an extra cover. Parnell playing the stroke, another dot ball. And Northamptonshire now needing to score at pushing 11 and over. Here's Lintott in again, bowls to Parnell, who looks to cut. He's going to get a single as it goes out to the sweeper, coming in from the cover boundary, sends in a low throw on the bounce to Michael Burgess. 1 more onto the total, 72 for 5, Northamptonshire. So the requirement comes down under 100. And Thurston on 2, now facing Lintott short, and he punches that away into the covers off the back foot. There's a bit of hesitation there as Thurston wanted to go for a single. Parnell didn't seem that keen, but in the end they had time to come through for the single after they completed their negotiations. Thurston to 3, and Northamptonshire to 73 for 5. And for Parnell, the left-hander, they've now got 2 men back on the boundary, a deep backward square and a deep mid-wicket. And Jake Lintott just moving the man at deep mid-wicket round a little bit more in front of the signal box. And it's hit out towards there. Is he going to pick the man out? He is. Parnell just picks the man out. He just moved him a little bit further round to the front of the signal box, and Wayne Parnell obligingly hits it straight down his throat. And he goes for 19, and with it, one fears, from a Northamptonshire point of view, their chances in this game. Northamptonshire 73 for 6. It's a 3rd wicket for Jake Lintott. And again, you have to say, it's a little bit of a soft dismissal, Clive.
Yeah, I mean, you called it. They dropped 2 fielders out there, and he's tried to take them on. That's an ambitious effort, with that boundary being as long as it is. And in truth, he was nowhere near clearing them. And, well, at the moment, the Bears will feel they have a firm grip on the game. Peter Milan, by the way, took the catch, but let's not forget that they were probably practicing their victory speeches at Edgbaston last season. Admittedly, slightly different circumstances, but they had that game as good as one, you felt, and didn't in the end win it. So T20 is a strange game.
Well, it is. And one of the architects of that particular extraordinary result is out in the middle now, Tom Taylor.
Indeed. So can he repeat the act? And Craig Miles is bowling to him. He plays that one to long off. Miles, who was a bit expensive in his first over, has an opportunity with two relatively new batters at the crease to pull it back a little bit in his next over. So 4 for 1 in that last over. What's Jake Lintot's figures, Mike? 3 for 19. First 3 for that anyone's had for the Bears this season. That one is turned round a fine leg. There is a man there, so it'll just be a single to Thurston. Ed Pollock does the fielding.
Yeah, Ed Pollock's quite pleased to get in the game.
I was just think exactly that. It must be difficult when you're a batter, you're out first ball. What can you contribute?
And I think that might be the first time he's touched the ball in the field, I think.
Probably. Did you have a good game, love? Well, this next one is clubbed but without any time. He didn't get hold of that at all. Taylor dribbled rather apologetically onto the onside for no run.
All you could ever say in those sort of circumstances used to be all the tea was nice. I'm not quite sure what they had today. I'm sure it's something nice.
Well, Miles trudges back. Will he be in the team when Henry Brooks is fit is a moot point. He's probably in because of Brooks's injury. Miles right arm over, and that's pushed out to the offside. There's no run, but Northants have the satisfaction of seemingly ending Liam Norwell's T20 career. He's not got anywhere near the side since that match at Edgbaston. Yes. And he went for 50 plus. But the Bears with a firm grip at the moment. It's going to need something pretty special. A couple of really big overs for Northants to get back into this. Taylor trying to make room, but Miles spots that, bowls a good ball right into his toes, and then follows up with a good piece of fielding and a nice angry turn as well, just to complete the act. It's a dot ball, 75 for 6.
I hope to prejudge the issue, because Northamptonshire may still storm through to an amazing victory, but I'm just trying to think about who we're going to ask to speak to afterwards.
Miles comes in to bowl. Oh, he's bowled him! And Taylor tried to make room. He beats the bat in frustration. Miles gets his wicket. And I'm afraid Northants are rather petering away here at the moment.
I think that's putting it kindly, Clive, to be perfectly honest. This is, you know, there's a decent crowd in, and they would have been hoping we said they got behind the team, I thought, really well in the first innings, and lots of applause and lots of backing the team in the field, and I'm sure they'd have been looking for a decent run chase, but at what, 65 for 2 in the 9th over, you were thinking, yeah, this is definitely game on. And then since then, as you say, it really is in danger of petering out. Well, Graham White, who was the other architect of that, if it sounds as though I'm clutching at straws, gentle listener, it's because I probably am. But Graham White was the other architect of that extraordinary victory. What was it, 37 off 12 balls, I think, something like that, to win the game.
I did write that down somewhere, actually. That does sound right. But, exactly right, 37 off 12.
Well, if you do the same this evening, it would be very interesting, but it still actually wouldn't be enough. 75 for 7 it is. 12 overs gone. Thurston and White out there at the moment. And it's going to be Danny Briggs who's back into the attack. And straight away, Thurston just working that behind square for a single. 76 for 7, Thurston to 5.
Sorry to labour the point, but it is 5 wickets for 10 in 22 balls during that spell.
That really is a serious clatter. Here's Briggs round the wicket, bowls to White, who just cracks that away through extra cover for a single. What do you do in this sort of situation? If you go for broke and you bowled out for 90, it looks fairly awful. If you try and just sort of play for a few overs and see where you are. It can look equally awful. Here's Thurston. It's a nice stroke out through extra cover for a single. One more to Thurston, who goes to 6. And Northamptonshire to 78 for 7. Fall of wickets, 3 for 65, 4 for 65, 5 for 66, 6 for 73, and 7 for 75. And that's a dot ball for Briggs. Played back down the pitch by Graham White. Briggs again, bowls to White, left arm spinner to left arm spinner, and White drives that up to long off. And Sam Hain comes in off the boundary. Hain, who played so well earlier for his 69 not out of 42 balls. One more run to Graham White, who goes to 2. And Northamptonshire to 79 for 7. And another single there for Charlie Thurston, who plays it out this time out to the man sweeping on the cover boundary. One more to Thurston, 7 to him. End of the over. 5 runs off it, but Northamptonshire need a lot more than that, and they've got not a lot left in the hutch, with all due respect to Nathan Buck and Ben Sanderson. And at the end of the over, 80 for 7. So 91 more runs needed, just 7 overs to go. And more significantly, I think, just 3 wickets left.
Again, I'm labouring the point, really, but I was just checking lowest scores against the Bears. And Northampton actually do already hold that equal record. 96 they were bowled out for here in 2011. Gloucestershire bowled out for 96 on a horrible pitch at Cheltenham, for which they were also docked points to add insult to injury. Oh, it's another wicket. Craig Miles has bowled Thurston, who tries to make room again to play the shot of the offside, misses it completely, and this could end up being one of those and a record total, because Mike's just pointed out to me that Craig Miles is now on a hat-trick.
On a hat-trick, yes.
So
absolutely.
cue my notes. I'll tell you how many hat-tricks the Bears have had. I've got it here somewhere, 4. The last was in 2014, bowled by Chetan Patel.
Well, Nathan Buck coming out, the happy hacker. He's going to have to do some serious hacking this evening. Yeah, there's always the thing, isn't it? You always hope that you come to watch a team play, and from a Northamptonshire point of view, then you think, well, are we going to see a record-breaking performance by your team? And it looks as though Northamptonshire supporters may see a record-breaking performance by Northamptonshire this evening, but sadly, for all the wrong reasons. But that said, and you take nothing away, the Bears have been excellent. They've been right on it. They worked out how to bowl on this pitch. And there's been, to be fair, a little bit of a contribution to their own downfall. And here we go, Clive hat-trick ball.
So Craig Miles is bowling it to Nathan Buck. Has a good attempt at Yorker, but Buck keeps it out. Mike is making me rub this in here. This is all Mike, by the way. Warwickshire, the Bears' biggest T20 win, obviously by runs, is 68 against Glamorgan in 2003. What are they at the moment? They're, 90 ahead.
It's going to take a... Oh, there's going to be lots of records broken this evening, none of which I particularly wanted to see.
Miles comes in to bowl, and that's pushed out to the onside for a single. In fact, when the next wicket falls, I'll have to bring Mike in anyway, so he can...
Yes, because you'll have other things to do. And, I'll tell you what, we'll do a deal. You go off and wrap up the programme. I'll go and do the interviews, and Mike can talk for an hour as revenge for coming up with all these stats.
81 for 8. Well, there'll be some game to win now. Miles comes in to bowl again. It's a good Yorkie's bowling. Well, you have to say Craig Miles, dug out by White. He's having a pretty good season, Craig Miles. I think he's looked as good in the Championship as he has since he joined Warwickshire. In the past, he's tended to be a bit wayward and a bit expensive. This year, he's been a lot more effective looking, I think. And, whether it's Graham Welsh who's worked his magic on him, I don't know, but he's looked as good as he has done since signing from Gloucestershire. He comes in now to bowl, and that was a shorter delivery, which White tries to run down to third man, but can only get it to backward point, and there is no run. 81 for 8. The Northants total chasing somewhat unlikely now, 171 to win. The Bears looking for a third consecutive win, which they did actually manage last season. Didn't qualify last season. They did manage 3 wins in a row at one point. Miles comes into bowl, and he tries to pull out onto the leg side. It ends up rolling back to the bowler. What a good over, one off it. And a wicket from Craig Miles. And at the end of 14 overs, I mean, I hate it when you're in that situation, but are they starting to think about net run rates and trying to just eke something out in the closing overs?
Well, it's possible, isn't it? There's not a great deal in terms of winning the game. I hope of doing that. Jake Lintot's coming back to bowl his fourth and final over. His figures already impressive. Let's see if they can be even more impressive. What has he bowled? 3 overs, 3 for 19 so far. Having picked up the wickets of Vasconcelos, Keogh and Parnell. And now he's going to be bowling to Nathan Buck. Here's Lintott in, and Buck drives out just through the covers for a single. Out to the man sweeping on the cover boundary, and I have to say it's all gone very quiet around the ground. Not surprisingly, as if there's any people drifting away, I don't think there probably are. It's such a beautiful evening. 82 for 8 now is Lintott in, bowls to White, who aims a huge blow over the leg side, doesn't make contact, goes through to Michael Burgess, who just nips off a bail, but White's back foot was rooted in place, so no appeal. Lintott in again, bowls to White, who does go aerial this time. He's going to be caught at deep mid-wicket. He is, and that's a 4th wicket for Jake Lintott. Northamptonshire lose their 9th, and waiting for the end, boys. 82 for 9, and Graham White goes, caught down there at deep mid-wicket. He goes for 2, and Northamptonshire are 82 for 9.
Before I go, what's Lintott now, Mike? 4 for 20. So if he doesn't, he'll get into the top 10 all-time figures if he doesn't concede any more runs. But if he get another wicket, I think Mike will correct me, perhaps, but I've only got 3 fifers that the Bears have bowled in this competition, and none since 2005.
Really?
Yeah.
It is extraordinary.
Neil Carter, Alex Loudon, and Colin Zaboya are the 3 that have done it. And on that bombshell, I should invite Mike to pop in here.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks, Clive. Yep, 82 for 9 it is. And this game may not be extended. Northamptonshire may struggle to take it beyond 9 o'clock at this rate. It's about 3 minutes to 9 local time. The floodlights barely really having much of an effect at all at the moment. It's still a beautiful evening. And a slip in now as Lintott comes in and chases that 5th wicket. And Lintott in, bowls to the number 11. In fact, it's to Nathan Buck. Ben Sanderson has gone in and he's at the non-striker's end because the batsman crossed while the ball was in the air before it was caught by Craig Miles down there on the deep mid-wicket boundary. Lintott in, bowls outside the off stump, and Nathan Buck leaves it as though he's trying to block out to save the county championship match. There's a slip in place. Lintott striving for this 5th wicket. Bowls, and Buck playing that back down the pitch. Fielded by Lintott on the end of a super bowling stint. 4 overs, 4 for 20. And at the end of it, Northamptonshire are 82 for 9 with Nathan Buck on 2. Ben Sanderson yet to get off the mark. There are 5 overs to go. And if we get through those remaining 5 overs, I think Northamptonshire, the last 2, may do a lap of honour.
Well, it'd be an achievement of sorts, wouldn't it? Lintott's taken 8 wickets in his last 3 games over the last few days. And he brings something different, doesn't he?
Well, he does.
So few bowlers of his type around.
And you made the observation at the start, Mike, this was the game that was going to kill off spinners.
Well, yes.
Don't believe it.
I remember that. Craig Miles is going to try and kill off this game at least with 1 wicket to get. And his first ball, Ben Sanderson's first ball, he's a little short of a length and a sort of short-arm jab back down the pitch from the Northants number 11. There must have been quite a flurry of batting kit in the Northants dressing room before, over the last 20 minutes or so, a completely unforeseen collapse. Having established at least some sort of a base at 65 for 2 in 8 overs, Sanderson, he's hit on the pad here, trying to swing to the leg side.
Well, Northamptonshire have lost, what, 7 wickets for 17 runs in 6 overs?
It's been a frightful clatter. And again, attacking strokes have been difficult to play.
Yeah.
It's been difficult to force the pace, and 170 has looked more and more difficult all the way through this innings. Even before the wickets fell, Sanderson gives this a tremendous mow, and he's nowhere near it.
Yes, it wasn't as though Northampton just they'd had a good 5 minutes with Vasconcelos when he hit Lintop for 6, but they were certainly not up with the rate when the wicket started to fall. It had been hard work up to then, and I do feel we sort of slightly called it that maybe this pitch is not the easiest, but it's not a 7 for 17 pitch.
Miles bowls and Sanderson hits a full toss low to mid-off, and again there's no run. No, but maybe the clue was there really in particular Brathwaite's struggle to play attacking stroke. It's a sort of pitch on which you could fairly comfortably make in this form of the game, a 45 ball half century or something like Hayne batted, but it was rather more difficult to try and score 20 off 10 balls. This is full right in the block hole from Miles, and it's carved away through square leg for 1 run, the first in a little while by Sanderson. And 83 for 9 Northants. But falling a long way short, and they're going to open with 3 defeats for a side that's so often been competitive in this form of the game in recent years. Miles bowls, a waist high and more full toss, which is socked by Buck to the mid-wicket boundary for 4 runs, and it might well be 4 plus 2. Yes, it is. It's a no ball, and it's cheered to the echo.
I was going to say, well, there's been an awful lot to cheer about in the last sort of half an hour or so, and Nathan Buck, of course, bowled one of those that went for 4. And in fact, finished up, then the free hit went for 6, so it actually finished up costing him 12 runs off 1 ball. Let's see if Nathan Buck can return the compliment.
I suspect he'll try. Miles bowls, Buck makes room, and he's had a go, but he's hit it, it's gone high. Oh, it is going to be 6, is it? It wasn't far off. It is.
Well, there you go.
That was a party piece from Nathan Buck. He got right under it, and it allowed the wind. Our friend with the flag, he's well away. He's enjoying that tremendously, and why shouldn't he? 95 for 9 at the end of an over, and Miles will be kicking himself all the way to the boundary because he finishes with 2 for 28 when he was 1 ball away from 2 for 18.
Yep, and 13 runs off the over, so it's the most productive over for in fact, since the 8th over. When Northamptonshire were in decent shape at 58 for 2. It's going to be Danny Briggs, and was that record of what, 96 was it, the lowest total?
96 was the lowest total.
Ah, well, there you go. Northamptonshire have got a chance to put that one to bed anyway. Here's Briggs bowling round the wicket to Ben Sanderson, who paddles that away round the corner. This is going to be runs, and he's going to get a single as it goes down to deep backward square. So that equals the lowest total against the Bears in T20 cricket, 96 for 9. And I have my doubts whether Nathan Buck will know this stat. There's Briggs in, bowls to Buck, and there you go. That one's ruled out of the equation as he drives that up to long off, fielded by Sam Hayne, and comes through for a single. So 97 for 9. The next, I suppose, little thing which would be quite nice for Northamptonshire supporters if they can get over 100. And that's driven down the ground by Sanderson pleasantly. It's a decent on-drive. Goes down to Carlos Brathwaite, who's had a quietish evening, really. Got the wicket of Richard Levy early on. 19 not out of 19 balls. 98 for 9. Briggs round the wicket, bowls to Buck, who plays that away to extra cover. And it's he half stopped there at extra. And it's quite a nasty one to stop because it's right on the old wicket ends down there, which are pretty abrasive. Come through for a single anyway, 99 for 9. Buck up to 14. 2 balls to go in the over. Briggs bowls to Sanderson down the leg side. And aimed a sweep by Sanderson. It must have clipped off something because it isn't signalled a wide, and I think Michael Burgett's had the bails off, thinking that Sanderson may have lifted his back foot, but he didn't. Briggs in again, bowls to Sanderson, down the wicket. Just jams down on that, and it rolls up, and the applause you can hear is not for Northamptonshire winning, it's for Northamptonshire reaching 3 figures. 100 for 9 at the end of the over. Sanderson is 4, Buck is 14. And Northamptonshire, we're crying a mere 71 to win off 3 overs with the last pair in. What are the odds, you reckon, Mike?
Well, it'll be a famous finish if it happens, and knock that one from last autumn into a cocktail, wouldn't it?
Yes, this is. I'm sure this is for the Bears players who were involved in that one. This is sweet revenge, and you can't blame them for 1 minute.
From their point of view, it had better be.
Yeah.
But after a collapse of 7 for 17, when the last pair have assembled 18, you can hardly blame the crowd for getting excited by that. Chris Wokes is going to see if he can come and finish things off at 100 for 9, with 3 overs left to make 71. Be dancing in the streets of Western Fable if they get that. Oh, some marvellously named villages you drive through on the way here. Lovely county. This is chipped away off one leg, like that opener was playing in the Test match the other day for New Zealand. Sort of flamingo shot, as it was much described by Sanderson, who is
much loved of Emilio Gay.
This
parish.
Yes. Irish play. He got 100 the other day.
He did play very well. Yes, Western Fable was where I went to school. So
is it really?
It is where I went to school. Yes.
Wokes bowls to Buck, who smears this rather less elegantly down to mid-on. Looks at his bat as if he wants to be getting some chalk for the end of it. And there's no run.
At least Northamptonshire aren't going to go down to their heaviest defeat by a runs margin, which was 124 runs against Yorkshire at Headingley 4 years ago.
No, it's certainly not on that scale. Wokes bowl short, and he's pulled by Buck for 4 runs. Good runs as well. He pulled that confidently behind square. It bounced away, so there is, if not a flourish, then at least a...
it could, however, be their heaviest runs defeat against Warwickshire Stroke Bears, which at the moment is 54 runs in the first season of the competition in 2003.
Bears had some big wins. They got over 200 here in that fixture, which at the time looked an absurd total, and these days nearly everybody's getting it. Buck goes down low and steers the ball with a horizontal bat almost along the ground out to deep extra cover, and takes 1 to go to 19. Numbers 10 and 11 have rather belied their billing.
24 unbroken partnership. Northamptonshire last wicket record is 35 against Warwickshire.
Records of the 70s DJ. Here's a short ball from Wokes, and Sanderson completes a full 360 degrees here and nearly meets himself coming back. But he didn't intercept the ball on its way through.
It's the sort of thing you can do when the game itself, the result isn't in doubt, and you're having to concentrate on that, because I don't think the result is in doubt. So it gives us plenty of time to look up the records. 35 unbroken between Johan Lowe and Jason Brown at Campbell Park in Milton Keynes, 2008.
Well, I saw a game there once. This is full and straight and driven hard down to long on by Sanderson for 1. 7 from the over. 2 overs to come, 107 for 9. The Bears played there a few years ago, and Neil Carter very neatly took out the much-missed scorer of Warwickshire in those days, David Wainwright. We were all sat on that. There was a balcony on the pavilion there with a metal railing on the front.
That's right.
Carter hit this merciless 6 that we all knew was incoming. Took cover and it pinged the bar in front of poor David.
It was that game. He hit 4 sixes in 52.
He did.
2008, and it was that game that the epic last wicket partnership was made. The Warwickshire won very, very easily by 9 runs. Carlos Brathwaite it is. He's going to bowl the penultimate over with Northamptonshire 107 for 9. He's going to be bowling to Ben Sanderson, who is on 6. And that's pulled away by Sanderson, and he's going to get a single as it goes out to Craig Miles out there on the deep mid-wicket boundary where he caught Graham White not too long ago. One more to Sanderson. He goes to 7. And Northamptonshire up to 108 for 9. Partnership now worth 26.
I suppose this is shaving a little bit off the run rate loss, which sounds like not much of a consolation, but you never know, it might be.
Well, but you've got to start winning some games first.
Well, that's true.
Here's Brathwaite, bowls to Buck, who's pulled that away for 6. That's a big hit. That's gone into the, what do they call it, the blast bays down there, where spectators are sitting and enjoying the cricket. And well, the crowd have finally got something to cheer about. They haven't done an awful lot of cheering probably since Ricardo Vasconcelos hit Jake Lintott for 6. But that takes Nathan Buck up to 25, 114 for 9. The partnership is 32.
That was much the same sort of stroke that Brathwaite was trying desperately to get away himself and never managed it.
Well, triumph, one up for the happy hacker. Buck on 25, facing this ball from Brathwaite. He gives himself room, tries for it again. The back leg rooted, and it goes past the outside edge into the gloves of Michael Burgess. And as nobody told him that these two are on the brink of history. Last wicket partnership record.
Strike 1, that.
It was, wasn't it? Yes. If he'd made contact, I think it would have gone possibly even further than the previous one. Here's Brathwaite in again, bowls a full toss, and that's whipped away by Buck down towards the boundary. They're going to get just a single. It goes down to the man at deep fine leg, and it's one more to Buck. 26 to him, 115 for 9. The partnership is 33. Looking at that game, Mike, with the 35-run partnership, Northamptonshire was 67 for 9. So
yes,
not a lot different. No. And yeah, Lowe and Brown. Jason Brown, 13 off 12 balls.
It's a lovely ground, that.
It is a nice ground. It's a natural amphitheatre. Is Brathwaite bowls, and that's gone straight up in the air. And I think this partnership may be about to end. And it's a very good catch down there by Will Rhodes, the Bears captain, and the innings ends. And that's a comfortable win there for the Birmingham Bears. Northamptonshire all out for 115. Ben Sanderson last out for 7, leaving Nathan Buck unbeaten on 26 off just 16 balls. Not too many batsmen even in double figures for Northamptonshire this evening, but finished 26 not out. Ricardo Vasconcelos made 36, Wayne Parnell 19, and Richard Levy 10. But Northamptonshire all out for 115. Didn't use the overs, all out in 18 overs and 5 balls. And the Bears win by 55 runs. So that is their biggest ever runs victory over Northamptonshire.
It was an unexpectedly wide margin of victory in that this game looks as though it might be quite competitive. In the early overs of this innings, I began to think that maybe 170 looked 10 or 20 more than par. It turned out to be quite a few more than that. But the last half an hour of the game was it was a very sudden change of direction to what up to that point looks as though it might have been quite close in the keeping of many of the games between these teams.
Well, it wasn't, and the catalyst really was the introduction of Jake Lintott into the attack, because he having gone for a nice tidy first over. The first over at the outside the power play went for 4, and then he picked up 2 wickets in his second over, another wicket in his third, another wicket in his 4th.
Well, the spinners collectively 6 for 44, and it's turned out that, as you were saying, all the pieces came together of this, didn't it? It was the third game on this pitch, which, although admittedly from quite a long way away, looked a lovely pitch to bat on, perhaps was past its prime. In terms of, not that it did anything unpredictable or naughty, but it just didn't have the pace onto the bat. And if you were setting out to score 140, you'd probably get them pretty comfortably in every occasion. But if you're trying to score 200, you could easily fall flat on your face. Yeah,
I'll just run through the bowling figures for you, which I'm sure Bears supporters will want to hear. Danny Briggs, 4 overs, no maidens, 1 for 21. Chris Wokes, 3 overs, no maidens, 0 for 22. Carlos Brathwaite, 2 overs and 5 balls, no maidens, 2 for 19. Jake Lintott, the star man, 4 overs, no maidens, 4 for 20. Craig Miles, excellent as well. 4 overs, no maidens, 2 for 28. 14 dot balls sent down by Craig Miles, and Dan Mosley, who bowled just the 1 over and got a wicket in that 1 over. 1 over, no maidens, 1 for 3. Picked up the wicket of Saif Zaib as Northamptonshire slithered from 65 for 2 to 82 for 9. So that's about it as far as we're concerned, with the Bears triumphing here by 55 runs. For them, 3 wins in a row after losing the first game, and for Northamptonshire, 3 defeats in a row, and a lot of thinking for Northamptonshire to do. We shall doubtless now head down to the players' area and get some reaction, and which I'm sure you'll hear from BBC Radio Northampton listeners in the breakfast programme tomorrow morning. But that's an emphatic win for the Bears. Well played to them. And from me, Andrew Radd, from Mike Taylor, from Clive Eakin, hope you've enjoyed the commentary. Hope you'll join us next time for more T20 Vitality Blast cricket on the BBC. For now, if you're listening on the stream, we'll say good night to you. Otherwise, we'll hand you back to your respective studios.